call our meeting in order. If we can have the roll call, please.
Councilmember Brand. Councilmember Brandow. Councilmember Caprilio. Councilmember Olivier. Councilmember Quintero. Councilmember Soria. Council President Baines.
Here. All right, if we can all stand, we're going to have our invocation this morning by Ken Wilson of the North Point Church, and if you remain standing immediately following, we will salute the flag.
Good morning. Father, we thank you today for the blessings that you give to us every day, for life and health and strength. And I thank you, too, for the opportunity that we have to live in this city and to be able to have servants who come today to do business. I would ask that as they do business, that they would have your mind as they work. Father, we thank today, too, of those who serve us in other areas of the city. We know that there's police and fire, the first responders that so often go unnoticed, and we ask that as they serve today, that they would have your protection and your watchful care. So as this council proceeds today with everything before it, we ask that you will bless each member and each participant. I pray in your name. Amen.
Face the flag, ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag. All right, we have several ceremonial presentations this morning. First off, we will start up with the presentation of the SPCA Pet of the Month by Councilmember Brand. And he's not here just yet, so go right ahead. We'll actually have it by Councilmember Brandow.
All right, Councilman Brand is not here today, and it was his day to introduce our friends from SPCA, and so I'm glad to jump in his shoes because I already met this doggy. This doggy's name is Meep, M-E-E-P, and when I came over to meet Meep earlier, Meep gave me about 15 kisses, so I love this dog. I get about one kiss a week from my cat. So 15 kisses is a lot, so I appreciate that. But more than that, I appreciate what SPCA does with our city and with our community. So can you tell us a little bit about Meep and also everything that you do to provide for our animals?
Yeah, so Meep actually came in too young for adoption, so we placed him in foster care. We actually have a great foster care program that's available to anybody that's willing just to take an animal in and foster it until it is old enough for adoption. And so Meep just came in too young, so now he's about 2 months old, which he can be neutered now. And so he's just a sweet little guy. He just likes to cuddle, obviously, just be right up in your arms. He has that typical Chihuahua shape because he is like a Chihuahua blend. And so, yeah, he's going to be available for adoption at 10 today. So if you're interested in Meep or maybe our foster care program, you can just come on down and let our front desk staff know at the adoption center. We're also going to be out at the Pooch Parade this weekend, too. And so we'll have a couple dogs there available for adoption. We'll also be selling cute little costumes for your dog if you want to come on down and stop by our booth, maybe purchase some of our costumes that we have for sale out there, or even maybe just stop and check out the dogs that we have available for adoption. We're also open just 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., except for on Wednesdays that we're open until 6 p.m. Wednesdays we also do our low-cost microchip clinic, too, so that may be a good idea to kind of stop by before Halloween. I know Halloween can be scary for some dogs, so if you just want to kind of let them go in a room or in a quiet place, it's okay if they don't want to participate in all the Halloween fun, and just make sure to keep all your candy put up, especially the chocolate. And so
now, when is the Pooch Parade? Where is that? When and where is that?
I think it's in Tower District on Olive, and we're going to be out there from 1 to 5 p.m. And they're going to have like little costume contests for your doggy and a little walk, and so it's going to be a whole bunch of fun.
I don't think Meep should be out on Halloween night.
Oh, no. No, he's too cute for that. And then also, too, watch out for your black cats on Halloween. Make sure to keep them put up as well.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's give our friends at SPCA a hand for everything they do for us. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next up, we'll have a proclamation for Disability Awareness Month by the Mayor's Office. Oh.
Well, good morning. This is on a personal level. Today we're going to recognize Disability Awareness Month. And this city has had a very progressive record and history as far as providing accessibility and opportunities for every individual in our community. Back in the 80s, we were one of the first cities to start operating buses with wheelchair lifts. There was a time where cities were welding those wheelchair lifts, where we said, no, we're going to continue to maintain them. And today we have low-floor buses. It's a common today, is it more so than it was back then. But for me personally, and I think for the mayor as well, today also marks, and in about 2 weeks, and Bob Hands here from RICV, the opening of Inspirational Park, which is a $9 million investment in a park that is designed specifically to meet the needs of everyone in our community, even those with disabilities. And for the council, especially a lot of the council who have been here a long time, we all know this was not an easy project to deliver, but we committed to this. The mayor made it very clear to me that we were committed to making this happen. And in 2 weeks, that vision that was started, from what I understand, 15 years ago, is going to become a reality. So for me, this is very touching and very pointed that we're celebrating Disability Awareness Month today, knowing that this park will be open in about 2 weeks. So, Mayor, any comments?
Yes, thank you, City Manager. And good morning, everyone, and happy Disability Awareness Month. We're very pleased to recognize the work of our commissioners this morning and also our ADA coordinator here in the city of Fresno. Shannon is one of the best, a leader among her peers, and we benefit here as residents of the city of Fresno. And I echo the city manager's comments. This is a really particularly exciting year because of the soon-to-open Inspiration Park. And so we ask all of you to stay tuned. We have information about the ribbon cutting and the ceremony and the carnival that will take place. We're working with Councilmember Soria on making sure that this occasion is appropriately celebrated. And then it's going to take all of us continuing to work together to keep the funds in place to make sure that we can properly staff and support the UAP. So anyway, it's a very exciting year, and we thank our volunteers and our staff leader for everything they're doing to continue to make the city of Fresno more accessible and inclusive of all of the people in our community. So with that, I'll ask our staff, do you want to recognize our members?
Absolutely, and I couldn't have said it better than both of you already have. So with us today, we have several of our Disability Advisory Commission members. We have Commission Chair, Dr. Janelle Pitt. We have our longest-running commission member, Mary Beth Randall. I have Francis Reyes Acosta and Heather Flores. All of them are powerful leaders within our community who volunteer their time and energy to make sure that we as a city are maintaining accessibility. And I'm going to turn the mic over to Dr. Janelle Pitt to say a few words before we do the proclamation and then our awards.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. As noted earlier, this year is indeed special as we are celebrating the 25th year anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act. The ADA advances equal access. October also represents National Disability Employment Awareness Month. I imagine as a group, if we were charged with collectively coming up with words that describes the meaning of work, our list would include our list would include words such as work is a calling, a passion. It represents one's purpose. It adds value. It's a way of contributing, and it's a part of our identity. For many, can I ask you to hold this, please,
Absolutely.
City Manager?
No problem.
For many, work underscores the importance of relationships. In society, usually when we meet someone for the first time, the questions that we ask as a way of connecting usually focuses on, what do you do? People are not asking usually about hobbies or our social roles. I'm a coach in my spare time. I'm a husband. I'm a wife. People are usually asking about work. Although there are 56.7 million individuals in the U.S. living with disabilities, the Bureau of Labor Statistics notes that in 2013, people with disabilities were participating in the labor market at a rate of 20% versus people without disabilities who were participating at a rate of 75%. For many people with disabilities, discrimination, lower, or no expectations, behavioral barriers, and attitudinal barriers limits access. It also limits participation in the conversation. What do you do? As we examine the rates of women with disabilities and individuals with disabilities from diverse backgrounds, employment and community participation rates become even more alarming. The essence of true diversity is rooted in equity and inclusion, demonstrated by leveraging the gifts and contributions that everyone brings to the table, which enriches our organizations and our communities. Lastly, the U.S. Department of State has launched a social media campaign entitled Employment, #WithoutLimits. This underscores the contributions of Americans with disabilities. This campaign is open to all of us to share our stories of participation and success. This year's DAC award recipients collectively represent how we can support citizens with disabilities in having fuller participation in all facets of our community. Thank you. And thank you.
Thank you. And real quickly, before I hand the mic over to Shannon, I also want to acknowledge the memory of Dr. Ed Ames. Dr. Ames reminded me on more than one occasion, either politely or very bluntly, the need to pay attention to this, that this is an important part of any community. And how and what we are today, in a lot of ways, was shaped by Dr. Ames. So with that, Shannon.
Will you read the proclamation in?
Whereas every year since 1945, the President of the United States has proclaimed a national observance in October to promote the employment of individuals with disabilities. And whereas 17% of the residents of the city of Fresno and 50% of the residents over the age of 65 have one or more disabilities. And whereas attitudinal barriers can hinder people with disabilities from being fully integrated into community life. And whereas the city of Fresno recognizes that people with disabilities are a community resource which should not be overlooked or underutilized. And whereas the City of Fresno Disability Advisory Commission serves the citizens of Fresno by providing the city with guidance on a wide range of disability-related issues, and through its annual Achievement Award, recognizes an individual and an organization who has improved the quality of life for persons with disabilities in the City of Fresno. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, Mayor Ashley Swearingen, and the Fresno City Council do hereby proclaim the month of October 2015 to be Disabilities Awareness Month in the City of Fresno.
Mic for you. Okay. The Individual Achievement Award. If I can ask Lieutenant Anthony Martinez to please accompany us. Lieutenant Martinez is being recognized for his volunteer work and commitment to improving the lives of youth and adults with disabilities. Lieutenant Martinez is also an active member of the Lions Clubs. Some of the projects that Lieutenant Martinez has provided leadership over has focused on serving youth and adults with disabilities, including rebuilding accessible decks and camps for children with disabilities, volunteering and securing donations for Operation Friendship, which provides preventative health screenings and glasses for those that cannot afford them, and also including fundraising for Blind Babies Association. Okay. And we also want to make sure that that is also noted, that Lieutenant Martinez was also Lieutenant and Commander of the Southwest District of Fresno. Thank you so much for the work that you have done and provided leadership over. I know that I just met you, but you seem like a very humble person. And we would just like to thank you in terms of your contributions in helping to support citizens with disabilities here in Fresno. Thank you.
Probably, yes. Oh, that Kodak.
That Kodak film.
Next, the Organization Achievement Award goes to Housing and Supportive Services. Housing and Supportive Services, or HAWS, is being recognized for service that is above and beyond the standard and innovation that has a positive impact on persons with disabilities. HAWS was founded by Dennis Tarigian in 2000. It is a unique housing facility for adults with chronic and severe mental illness. It provides stable housing, which is one of the biggest challenges faced by people living with mental illness. HAWS provides a support system and independence for tenants at the same time. This is amazing. This is Dennis here, Tarigian, and he takes no salary. He is on site weekly to maintain the grounds and interact with tenants, as well as personally fund holiday community meals for the tenants. Thank you so much on behalf of the Disability Advisory Commission. We know that in terms of people living with mental illness is one of the most stigmatizing disabilities, and we thank you so much for the work that you were engaging in on behalf of citizens here in Fresno. Thank you.
We're very honored to receive this recognition. We'd like to remind you all that we would not be here if it were not for the loved ones that we serve. I also want to thank the family members and our friends who have encouraged us to develop this project and have sustained it through today. Additionally, 20 years ago, we'd like to thank the Director of Behavioral Health, who had the foresight to also encourage us to help develop this project. Thank you all very much.
Next, we have the City of Fresno Department or Staff Award. Parks, After School Recreation and Community Services Department. If we can have individuals represent us. The Parks Department is being recognized for their ongoing efforts to provide inclusive programs and facilities. They've engaged in securing funds and construction for the Inspiration Park that was talked about at the top of the hour. Inspiration Park is a premier universally accessible park and community center that serves residents with varying abilities of all ages. No other park in the Central Valley provides the amount of recreational and educational opportunities that will be available at Inspiration Park. And we are so pleased that the park is slated to be open in a very few short weeks. So thank you so much. I really believe, as comments have been shared, that this is going to be a park that's really going to enhance our community and that will be available to everyone. So thank you so much.
I'd just like to say that this, although the Fresno Parks Department is receiving this award, this is really an award for the city. Oftentimes people in news articles come out rather negative about our Parks Department here in Fresno, but this park, not only is it going to be a leader in the state of California, I personally believe it's going to be a leader in the nation. I also feel that this is really sends a very strong signal that Fresno Parks and the city of Fresno is really on the move in becoming an extremely caring leader in the parks movement, not only for the state of California, but also for the United States. And I think the mayor and Bruce Rutter to be commended for really getting this project started and moving and actually being completed now.
Next.
All right. Next up, we're going to have the resolution of commendation to Manchester Gate for winning national honors, and that will be presented by Councilmember Olivier.
Where's the Gators at? All right, come on up. There's another Gator right here, and Mayor Swearingen is going to help present this because it's a very important proclamation today. Hello. We have something very special in the city of Fresno. We have a lot of special things in the city of Fresno, but at the corner of Fresno and Dakota, something really neat is happening. We have Manchester Gate Elementary, and they're doing really great things, and they were just named a blue ribbon. They were awarded the blue ribbon for excellence in academics, one of only 29 schools in the state of California to receive that, and the only one in the Valley. The only two in the Valley. And thanks to the principal, Mrs. Jangosian, and thanks to the staff for really doing something fantastic, being a source of pride for the city, and making such a big difference in the lives of these young people. And so that's why we wanted to present this proclamation. And so congratulations. What we'll do is hear from Mayor Swearingen, and then we'll also hear from our city clerk will read the proclamation, and then we can hear from you and also maybe from some of our students as well.
Thank you, Councilmember Olivier, and I really am appreciative of District 7 bringing forward this recognition. It's so well-deserved, and it really is something impressive, not just for District 7 or the city of Fresno, but really throughout the central San Joaquin Valley, and that is the long-standing tradition of academic excellence at Manchester Gate, and it really represents the commitment of Fresno Unified, the families, the teachers, the school site leadership that our schools are going to perform and exceed expectations, and Manchester Gate certainly does that. So as mayor, I'm delighted to help recognize the achievements of all of the people who helped make this school terrific. But let me also say, as mom of Sam, who has had the pleasure of going to school at Manchester Gate since second grade, it has made such a difference in his life, and I'll let him share a little bit more about that. Or maybe he won't. Maybe he won't, but it's really just been a blessing to the Swearingen family for our son to be a part of Manchester Gate. It's our last year there, but Manchester Gate will be in our hearts forever. So with that, Madam Clerk, or shall we read the proclamation? Thank you.
Whereas Manchester Gate Elementary School is being recognized today for being one of 29 schools in California to be named a 2015 National Blue Ribbon School. And whereas Manchester Gate Elementary is joining an elite group of schools that performed in the top 15% statewide on state assessments. And whereas Manchester Gate Elementary School is a high-performing school that demonstrates a history of academic excellence, leadership, and tenacity from students and teachers. And whereas Manchester Gate Elementary also reached this academic achievement in 2001 and 2009. And whereas Manchester Gate Elementary is located in the heart of Fresno and should be a source of pride in the community. And now, therefore, be it resolved that we, Mayor Ashley Swearingen, and the Fresno City Council members do hereby proclaim Thursday, October 22nd, 2015, to be Manchester Gate Elementary School Day in the city of Fresno. We congratulate you on your success and your hard work. Your dedication is greatly appreciated.
Yay.
Thank you so much for recognizing us this day. I would like to introduce three of our amazing sixth grade students. We have 204 sixth grade students this year, just three of them. We have Eli Ward and Grace Isaac and then Sam Swearingen. So what I have to say about Manchester is I've been very blessed to be able to work there. This is my 7th year to be involved with the school and following in the leadership of Mr. Russ Painter, who has been there for 21 years. It was an amazing thing to follow. But this school is truly a testament to hard work as a group. It is some of the most hardworking teachers and parents and students that you're ever going to see. It is a community spirit there. And I'm just very proud to be a part of this school and be recognized. And in November, 3 teachers and I will get to go to Washington, D.C. to be honored. So we're very thrilled to have this honor.
Thank you. I think applause, right? Applause. All right. I have seen Sam Swearingen stand on the mound at Grizzly Stadium and throw a perfect strike over the plate. He is an outstanding ball player. You're going to decline the opportunity for public speaking, though, this morning? Okay. All right. Then that means one of you other Gators has to say a few words. Okay. All right. Here you go. You guys can both speak.
Manchester Gate has just been really great. I've been at Manchester Gate since the 3rd grade, and it's just been really great for me.
Manchester Gate is a really good school. I've been there since 3rd grade, and I've gotten a lot of opportunities to be involved in different things, and all the teachers are really supportive.
Very good. Last chance, Sam. All right, all right. All right, congratulations, all of you. Here's your... Thank you so much. Thank you. You probably have pencils with your mom's name on it. Congratulations.
All right. Thanks, Clint. Next up, we'll have the proclamation of Civil Air Patrol Squadron 112, the official U.S. Air Force Auxiliary. Councilmember Quintero.
Well, good morning, everyone. Everybody's still asleep. Well, it's another wonderful day in the neighborhood in southeast Fresno. We have few people realize this, but actually in southeast Fresno and the Sunnyside area, we've actually got our own air patrol. So we have our Air Force, we have our military, the National Guard's there. We've got a university, so we're pretty much self-contained. And today I want to talk a little bit and invite members of the Civil Air Patrol Squadron 112. And these are the folks that are out in the southeast part of the city. They're the ones that are located right by the fairgrounds. And I'd like you to introduce yourselves and maybe have you talk a little bit about what the Civil Air Patrol does.
Certainly. I'm Lieutenant Colonel James Shepard, and it's my privilege to be the commander of Fresno Squadron 112. And Civil Air Patrol does a lot of different missions, And if you had an hour, we could go into them. But the thing we're really here today is because we won a national award as the best cadet squadron out of more than 1,200 squadrons. And that's what this proclamation is about. And we have with us some of our senior members and also a few of our cadets. And I will let them go ahead and introduce themselves.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sushil Prakash, and I am a senior member with the Civil Air Patrol. I'm also a pilot, and what we do, I'm a public affairs officer with the Civil Air Patrol, and I'm trying to promote Civil Air Patrol. So some of the ways we have done that is we have a Facebook page. So if every one of you can add us, it's called Fresno Squad, and then share it with your friends so more people can know about us and see what we do. And also go to our website to answer any other questions. It's www.gocivilairpatrol.com. And I hope to see all of you there. And thank you, Sal, and thank you, council members.
I'm Senior Master Sergeant David Gonzalez.
I'm Cadet Second Lieutenant Avalon Gonzalez.
And I'm Senior Member Patricia Gonzalez, and I'm helping in the cadet programs. We have 3 major areas that we serve: cadet programs, emergency services, and aerospace education. And it's a great opportunity for young people and senior members alike. But if you have any young people from the ages of 12 to 21 that are interested in learning leadership skills or having any opportunity to learn about flying, aerospace education, emergency services, we have a great opportunity down at Civil Air Patrol, 911 Chance Avenue.
Okay. Well, Patty told you a little bit about the cadet program. It is a great leadership program for youth, basically 12 through 18, but if they're in the program, they do get to stay up to age 21. If the youth has any interest in military and aviation, or if they're really ambitious, like going to Manchester Gate and looking for one of the academies, Civil Air Patrol is one of the best preparations they could possibly do for that. These days, approximately 10% of the appointments to the Air Force Academy do come from Civil Air Patrol. But in addition to the cadet program, Civil Air Patrol provides 85% of the search and rescue force for the entire United States. In our state alone, California, we have 28 aircraft. We have our own aircraft located here at Fresno Airport. In addition to search and rescue, a very growing mission for us is called post-disaster reconnaissance. And just last week, we had aircraft that were airborne over Lake County, over Napa and Sonoma counties, doing the aerial surveys of the fire. They flew almost 60 hours. They surveyed 360 square miles to give the State Office of Emergency Services all the information they need to plan to do with their forces. We maintain an individual, a separate communications net for disasters. And we also produce basically a number of different missions for other government agencies. We call them our customers, including occasionally flying as a target for the local Air National Guard when they need a slow target because, that's often what they have to intercept when the temporary flight restrictions are violated. And there's many other missions. In addition, aerospace education is one we are trying to grow locally so that teachers and principals that want to increase the interest of kids in the STEM subjects, the science, technology, engineering, and math. We actually have available lesson plans starting from K going all the way to the 12th grade for students that can be integrated into a class or delivered as a club after school. So we have many different facets to the Civil Air Patrol, and I'm just very glad to be a part of it.
Well, thank you very much. And how many years have you been located in the offices that you're currently at?
Well, we've been in the National Guard Armory for more than 5 years now, but however, we have this squadron has been operating in Fresno for more than 40 years. Civil Air Patrol itself is 75 years old. We actually came into being 1 week before the start of World War II. And our very first mission, a rather important one, was in little single-engine aircraft out over the water and looking for and chasing down German submarines that at the time were absolutely devastating our shipping. By devastating, I mean sinking 1 to 2 ships per day. So we don't fortunately need to do that mission anymore, but that's where Civil Air Patrol got its start more than 75 years ago, and we're still doing a lot of different missions.
Well, thank you very much. It's very educational, and it's good to, I'm sure that there's a lot of folks in our community that don't realize all the work that you do and the great impact that you have, as well as the resources that, educational resources that are available for all of our educational system in Fresno County. So thank you very much for all the work you do. And we'd like to present you with a proclamation today, and it's hereby presented to Civil Air Patrol Squadron 112. And it reads, "It is with great distinction and pride that we join in honoring Civil Air Patrol Squadron 112 for your dedication to both local and national agencies for winning several prestigious awards. I admire and appreciate your commitment by providing emergency service, cadets, and aerospace education. Your dedication over the years has proven to be invaluable and inspiring to all, and please accept a heartfelt thank you on behalf of the City of Fresno for your services and your continued efforts here in the Central Valley. Your support is what has helped Fresno become an all-American city. And on behalf of the City of Fresno, we do hereby proclaim today, Thursday, October 22nd, 2015, to be Civil Air Patrol Squadron 112 Day in the City of Fresno. And congratulations, and thank you again for all you do and your service.
Thank you so much, Mr. Patel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Nice to meet you, too. Yes. And by the way, they do work real hard on recruiting good people, because I want to say that Sushil is the owner of a 7-Eleven in Southeast Fresno, but you've maybe seen him on TV because he started a national model for 7-Eleven, which includes libraries in the stores for children. So congratulations for that. But Brenda, Sushil wanted a picture. They're going to post it on 7-Eleven's Facebook page.
No, it's a Civil Air Patrol.
Oh, on the Civil Air Squadrons. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Al. Next up, we'll have the proclamation of National Lights On Day for Fresno County Office of Education. Councilmember Quintero, if you wouldn't mind just rolling right into that one.
I'd like to ask Jenny and Randy, please come forward, and maybe the gentleman, the individuals you brought with you. This is a program that the Fresno County Office of Education has. Well, this is part of the group that makes Jimmy Ovino look successful. You know, Randy, what I'd like to do is read the first whereas and have you talk a little bit about the program, because it's had a great impact on our community, and it'll just make it a little bit easier to understand how much outreach you actually do. And Jenny, thank you for coordinating this. Okay. The first whereas reads, says that since 1998, the Fresno County Office of Education's FRESH program has become the third largest after-school consortium in California and the fifth largest in the nation, serving 145 school sites throughout 26 districts and providing more than 40,000 students an educationally enriching environment every school day until 6 p.m. So this continues after the end of the school day. And so, Randy, I'd like you to expand on that a little bit and tell us a little bit more about the program and your national awards.
Great. No, I'd be happy to. Thank you, Councilman Quintero. Good morning, everybody. This really is a great opportunity for us to sort of break some stereotypes about after school. Because if you ask most, Joe Citizen, they're going to say, well, yeah, you probably play sports and you house kids and you babysit. And the reality is we do not house kids and we do not babysit. You have in front of you some of the finest after-school professionals who find a magical way to move the needle academically. We're under strict guidelines to improve the academic well-being of young people. And we serve approximately 20,000 young people in the city of Fresno, 40,000 county-wide, and about 100 schools within Fresno Unified and Central Unified have after-school programs, more than half of which are run directly by the individuals you see in front of you this morning. And I want you to rest assured that some of the most innovative, dynamic, creative, academic interventions are going on after school. There's no just rolling a basketball out and saying, have fun, kids. And let me give you just one very brief example, if I could. Our feet are held to the fire for data, and without showing and demonstrating academic prowess, we cease to exist. The state, this is a good use of funding. If you don't move the needle, you lose your money, very simply. And I appreciate the competition that's been put in front of us to achieve that. In a world right now where some of our most highest at-risk young people, most marginalized kids in our society, I'll give you one example, African American males. We know that as a disaggregated group, their dropout rate is approaching 50% for African American males in not just this community but across the country. And we know that they are one of the highest at-risk groups that need to be reached. In a world that is exemplified by the Pew Charitable Trust, who did some research that shows that, hold on to your seats for a moment, more African American males get their GED in prison than graduate from all of the four-year institutions, colleges with a bachelor's degree in America combined. More African American males get their GED in prison than graduate from college every year. We are demonstrating, we disaggregate our data according to who is being affected. African American males and Latino males in Fresno Unified, because of after school, and I can say that with confidence because we're measuring over 11,000 Latino males and African American males, and the one thing they all have in common is after school. Because of the investment in after school, this cohort, African American Latino males, are attending regular day an average of 17 more days than African American males, Latino males who do not go to after school. That's over 170,000 hours of additional academic instruction. And that's just one piece of data. We've had English language arts increase. English language learners have achieved at an astronomical rate. I want you to assure you kids are getting wonderful intervention from 3 to 6. And you've got folks like this, wonderful after-school professionals to thank for it. So thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you very much. And before I'll ask Todd to read the half-hour proclamation, I'd like your staff that's with you today to introduce themselves. And thank you all for the great work that you do, really making an impact in our community.
All right, my name is Luis Bravo, and I'm a project specialist for Fresno County Safe and Healthy Kids Department.
My name is Alejo Delgado. I'm also a project specialist with FCOE.
Joshua Blecka, same position.
Elena Costa, same position.
Sal Quintero, same position.
Elena Silva, I'm the director for the after-school programs at Fresno County Office of Education.
Jason Wara, same position, but I do wellness and nutrition as well.
Chris Hoberson. I'm the admin assistant for Elena for after school.
Luis Trejo, project specialist.
Alva Hernandez, project specialist.
Z Yang, project specialist.
Thank you, and thank you again for all the great work that you do. Todd, will you please read the proclamation?
Whereas, since 1998, Fresno County Office of Education's FRESH program has become the third largest after-school consortium in California and the fifth largest in the nation, serving 145 school sites throughout 26 districts and providing more than 40,000 students an educationally enriching environment every school day until 6 o'clock p.m. Whereas, Fresno County Office of Education's fresh after-school programs provide students who struggle with traditional approaches to education with a second chance to achieve by applying an innovative approach to learning through active, hands-on exploration and skill building. Whereas, Fresno County Office of Education's fresh after-school programs are keeping our students safe and away from crime, drugs, alcohol, and other dangerous behaviors during the time of day when the risk for kids is the greatest. Whereas, Fresno County Office of Education's fresh after-school programs have contributed more than 2,000 jobs annually to the local labor force and helped prepare future teachers with relevant and hands-on job preparation. Whereas, a growing body of research indicates that students who participate in quality after-school programs show increased interest and ability in reading, develop new skills and interests, show improved school attendance and reduced dropout rates, and show higher aspirations for the future, including intention to complete high school and go to college. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, Mayor Ashley Swearingen, and the Fresno City Council members encourage all citizens to join in recognizing Fresno County Office of Education's fresh after-school programs for the significant impact they have made in the lives of thousands of students across Fresno County. Be it further resolved that we, Mayor Ashley Swearingen, and Fresno City Council members do hereby proclaim October 22nd, 2015 to be National Lights On Day in the city of Fresno.
Let's give them a big hand, please, for all the great work. One last question. You've been with the program since day one, and you're almost going to complete 20 years. That's great. Congratulations to you. And what does Jenny do there?
Jenny's a genius. That's Jenny is also a project specialist and personally manages about 15 sites and keeps them going with creative ideas and support. And that's really what this group does here, is to provide adequate support for programs. And we're lucky enough to steal her from another wonderful organization, Reading and Beyond.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you, Jenny, for the work you do. But it takes a team.
It does.
It takes a team. And thank you so much for everything, again, that you do. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Next up, we'll have the proclamation of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month by Councilmember Soria. Along with Councilmember Capriolo.
Good morning. I'm very honored to call up Sharon Johnson along with Bao Tao and Marilyn Heckman. This morning, along with my council colleague Paul Capriolio, we are presenting the National Breast Cancer Awareness Month proclamation. So we're declaring that for the month of October, we recognize this very important issue, which is National Breast Cancer Awareness. And so I just want to say that it is very critical that in our community, not only that we celebrate the courage of those women that are battling with this terrible disease, but also for many of the survivors. I will say that this issue is very special to me because not only I have had the opportunity to work at the state level on women's health issues and advocating to actually lower the age for the program which is called Every Woman Counts to attempt to do early detection. Unfortunately, we weren't successful, but I know that the organization, Susan G. Komen, they continue to be a great advocate to ensure that early detection and that the resources are available there. We know that more and more young women are actually being diagnosed with breast cancer. And so this issue is not only special to me because I've had the opportunity to advocate and work on this issue, but also because in my office I will call her a warrior because she is also a breast cancer survivor. And so I want to celebrate the courage that it takes many of these women that go through the treatment and that continue to fight every day for their life. And so I want to thank all of you for the courage and for your commitment to continue advocating for women's health and to ensure that there's early detection and that there's services available to ensure that our women in our community keep living. And so I want to thank you for all the work that you do, and I'm very honored to be here celebrating the work and also celebrating the women, the survivors, and those that continue to fight every day. Oh, and I will let you speak in a short second, but I know that there is a wonderful event this coming Saturday that you can give more details about, but to continue to raise funds to ensure that they are able to continue to do the advocacy work and provide the necessary services to address the many challenges that the population does encounter. I do want to say that some of the startling statistics, there's a 1 in 8 chance that a woman can get diagnosed with breast cancer, and over 200,000 women annually actually are diagnosed with this disease. So it is imperative that we continue to work hard to provide the resources, not only to ensure that the women that are diagnosed get the treatment, but also that we find a cure. And so we're in this together, and we are very proud of the work that you guys do, and we're very proud to support you guys.
I join in those comments, and my mother is actually a breast cancer survivor, and by virtue of a double mastectomy. But she's 88 years old, and she's visiting her family, our extended family in Memphis as we speak. So it's very personal to me as well. But I really wanted to invite everyone to the fundraiser. It's in my district at Fresno State University. So we want all of you to be there, participate, show up, get involved if you can. If not, just be part of this wonderful, wonderful annual event, and I'm very proud to have it in District 4 and at Fresno State. And on behalf of District 4 and my family, keep up the good work. You guys are incredible. You're incredible, and you are too for bringing this forward today. So thank you very much.
So we'll go ahead and let the clerk read the proclamation for the record, and then we'll have you guys share a little something with us. Thank you.
Whereas National Breast Cancer Awareness Month reminds us to join in the fight against breast cancer by honoring those who are currently battling or have battled this disease. We honor all those who have survived the fight, and we work to educate the community about the seriousness of breast cancer. And whereas statistics show that a woman in the United States has a 1 in 8 chance of developing invasive breast cancer during her lifetime, the chance that breast cancer will be responsible for a woman's life is 1 in 35. In 2015, an estimated 231,840 cases of invasive breast cancer will be diagnosed in the United States. And whereas early detection of breast cancer allows for early intervention and helps make treatment more effective. Screening measures such as mammograms, regular breast self-exams, and clinical breast exams can help detect cancer before it has a chance to spread. And whereas Susan G. Komen for the Cure is a leading advocacy group in the fight against breast cancer. The Komen Foundation is one of the nation's largest private funders of cutting-edge research and is an educational vehicle to get people active and involved in the cause. And whereas Susan G. Komen for the Cure will hold their 17th annual Komen Central Valley Race for the Cure on October 24th, 2015 at California State University, Fresno. The race is an educational fundraiser to involve the Central Valley in efforts to find a cure for the breast cancer. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, Mayor and Council of the City of Fresno, do hereby proclaim the month of October to be National Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Thank you very much, and also to the council behind me. Beside me is Bao Tao, She is a grantee of Susan G. Komen, and next to her is Marilyn Hickman, a breast cancer survivor. She's on our board of directors. I am a 2-time breast cancer survivor, and I'm able to speak with you today because of early detection. Contrary to some guidelines that were just released by ACS, we do take issue with the ages and with the lack of recommendation for clinical breast exams. If anyone has any questions regarding that, feel free to call my office for our position. However, when we talk about the race, it is our signature fundraiser, and it is what provides, and we're the only nonprofit that is providing funds for women who cannot afford mammograms, that don't qualify for the Every Woman Counts program. We provide funding for culturally appropriate education, lymphedema treatment. So it is important to either donate or participate if possible. But this race has a special meaning for me. My first race was in 2001. I had just finished treatment that was surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. And I heard about the Race for the Cure, and I thought, this is something I want to be active in. And it was there I met a young woman that really changed my life. She was 33 years old and not diagnosed with breast cancer when she went into the doctor with a breast lump. Unfortunately, she waited. She believed her doctor that she was too young for breast cancer. By the time she sought a second opinion, it had spread throughout her body. We call that metastatic breast cancer. She was 33. Her husband left her with an 8-year-old daughter, and she was here from Los Angeles with no family. So she basically became an adopted member of our family. It was less than a year after I met her that she passed away. It's easy for me to talk about my experience because I'm alive today. However, there was a promise I made to her. No matter what I did, and I wasn't even employed by Susan G. Komen at the time. I was 28 years in the medical field. But I promised her that I would try to empower women to take charge of their health and to take charge of a situation. If you feel there's something wrong with your body, you don't have to remain with the same doctor. You can ask for a second opinion. And if that doctor says they don't think you need it, it's time to seek further assistance. So I am here today as an advocate because of her. Her name was Diane. And I've lost contact with her family. Unfortunately, they moved back to Mexico. So speaking of Facebook, I check Facebook all the time for her daughter, but I've not been able to find her. But this is a race that, of course, is a fundraiser, but it's a race that builds memories. It honors those battling breast cancer, those that have fought and survived, and those like Diane that have left us with their message of courage and strength. Thank you.
Again, thank you, Sharon, for all the work that you do, for the work that your organization does. It is such necessary work, and so with your story, it is very touching and just humbling to hear the second chances that you've gone. And so thank you again for continuing to advocate for women's health.
Thank you for this proclamation.
Absolutely. And so I want to encourage all my council colleagues, for those that don't have the pin on, we have distributed pins so that you can wear it to ensure that our community knows that October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So thank you again for your guys' support.
Very good.
And just before you guys step down, Sharon, I've got to just comment too. I couldn't let this moment go by without also extending a heartfelt thanks to you and all the work that you all do in raising the awareness, breast cancer awareness in our community. My mother-in-law, as most of you know, is a breast cancer survivor. And my wife wants me to tell you hello.
Tell her hello.
She appreciates you so much and all the work you do, as do I. So we know the work that you all are doing in this community to raise the appropriate awareness, and we always want to be good partners with you. So thank you all for the work that you do.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate your assistance. We held an event September 26th at Gaston Middle School, and it was a breast cancer screening event, an inaugural event for us. We've never held anything like that. But we knew it takes a captive audience to try to get women screened all in the same day because follow-through is very poor. So we had a health fair atmosphere, clinical breast exams, and all they had to do was walk across the hall for a mammogram. So to report to you, I don't know if you've seen anything on our social media, of the 12 women that had mammograms that day, 3 were abnormal. And they are in the system with biopsies right as we speak. So I really feel confident this is the way to approach access to care here in Fresno at least, and also in rural Fresno. But throughout the state, from Fresno to Northern California, that weekend there was 123 mammograms performed and 14 came back abnormal. So I really do believe we're in the right direction in providing access.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
All right, and we have one final proclamation today. It's not on the agenda, but Councilmember Olivier, I think you had something that you wanted to share with us today.
Thank you, Council President Baines. This proclamation is important because it really affects.
Should we look at the screen?
Tens of thousands of people in our community. This is a loss. It's a tremendous loss that's going to be felt by lots and lots of people who look forward to their Fresno Bee every morning and their George Hofstadter column. Today is going to be George Hofstadter Day in the city of Fresno, and we didn't put it on the agenda because you read the agenda maybe better than some city people do, and that's safe to say. And so you would have known, and then you would have maybe tried to talk us out of it. But there you go. Council members, I'm going to go down there to honor George, and if you would like to come too, it'd be great to have you all. Would you like to? Come on up, George. Now, when I saw you yesterday walking on the street, and I pulled over to see you, to gripe to you about the state of affairs, I knew about this, and I didn't tell you. Okay. So that's not true. That's not true. You know what? Since I'm sure that all of us want to share a George Hofstadter memory, so I'm going to be very, very brief. You know, in the United States, we have 3 branches of government, and then we have the fourth estate. And I'm a journalist by trade, and it's something that's very, very near and dear to me. The fourth estate is important because we have checks and balances, of course, between the 3 branches of federal government. But the fourth estate is important because it is a check on all 3. And because of the diligence of true journalists like George, it holds people like us accountable and organizations like ours accountable. And it's so important that we have truth in our community because we can't solve our community's problems, we can't solve our nation, our world's problems without that truth being a part of the discussion and without facts being a part of the discussion. And so George has spent his entire life in pursuit of those facts, in pursuit of truth, in pursuit of in betterment of the community. George isn't retiring from the Fresno Bee as a wealthy man, but he, well, because sorry about that, George. Because journalism is a calling. It's a calling like the ministry, or it's a calling such as like the one that we all answered to be here. It's an important calling because it's a service job. It's in service, and Mark, you know, it's in service of people. And so I am very proud of George because he spent his entire life in service of others, working to find truth and working to tell others the truth and working to tell others about their community. So he's performed an invaluable service to this community for decades. And so that's why I wanted to work with my colleagues and our mayor to honor him. And so with that, I will turn it over to any council colleague who wishes to say a few words about George.
Thank you. Well, George, we're going to miss you. We're really going to miss you. And for me personally, I can tell you that George and I both share a passion for local sports. And I believe he started his journalism career covering sports at COS. He was a sports beat writer for College of Sequoias back in the day, and we've shared a lot of sports stories and updated each other on former athletes. But beyond that, George, hearing about your change and changes that you're going to be leaving us, the city manager has agreed to give you a water truck. One that is phased out. You'll probably have to have keys made for it, tune it up, and new tires. So you'll have free access to all the potable water you need at the sewer farm and then you can write as much as you want about that. But I know they'll look forward to seeing you there in your big truck, your shiny new truck. Once you, take a Turo Scheib or something, get it painted. But anyway, thank you, George, and thank you so much for your friendship, especially. Thank you.
Well, I know we all have something to say, so I'll just say this. I want to thank you. I want to echo some of Clint's comments, and Sal, of course, thank you for your service. It clearly is a calling. And I just found out, funny enough, I'm always the last to know. I typically tell people I'm usually the last in the building to know that anything's happening, right? So I literally find out that George is retiring while he's interviewing me interviewing Lee and I for a story. And I'm like, you're retiring? This was last week. He's like, well, yeah, Oliver. I'm like, oh, my goodness, Friday's my last day. And so, George, I'll just say that I always enjoyed our conversations. And you used to crack me up because I could see when the wheels were spinning, man. All of us know that moment with George where he's like, well, wait a minute. He rub his head a little bit and, well, Oliver, what about this? And you would always ask that, what about this question? Right, and it was always the what about this? Did you think about that? And like Clint said, you held us accountable, and we could see the wheels turning. And when your wheels started turning, so did mine. I'm like, okay, George's wheels are turning. I better really think about what I'm going to say. But I appreciate your coverage. I appreciate you always trying to get it right. It's not easy. We don't live in a black and white world, folks, and many shades of gray. And it's a very difficult job you have in trying to make sure that you represent all relevant sides of an issue. It's not easy. And so I personally appreciate what you did. You always gave us a fair crack. We may not always agree with you, and you don't always agree with us, but you always gave us a fair crack at the story, and you always tried to give the public an idea of what we were trying to do. It's not easy work. So, George, we're going to miss you. And I hope we still keep in touch. I hope I still see you walking up and down District 3 with your fisherman's hat on. I'm sure I probably will, walking around, but we're going to miss you, and I've enjoyed our relationship, George.
It's tough to follow these two fellows, the three fellows right here, but I also want to extend my congratulations to you, and please share with your wife the gratitude that we have for you and from our community for all the things you've done for us. And without her, you couldn't do it. We all know that. We all are in that same position. So thank you very much, George, and I look forward to seeing you in the future in your usual chair right over there to the left of the building here. Thank you, George.
I don't know what to say, George. I mean, this is the end of an era, literally. Your institutional knowledge of this city is a gift to this city. I've never seen, in my 7 years here, and for many years I followed the city council and the city business, and you've been there as a sports writer, as a regular reporter. You've dug up stuff that needed to look up. You've shined this bright light on City Hall that was never there, and you've all kept us all accountable. And I want to kind of follow up what Oliver said. You've always had a unique ability, I'm very sincere, to find something and go, there's something there I should take a look at. And it was always done, for the public good. You have certainly, I've learned a lot from working with you, and I wish you the best of luck. And one final thing, many years ago, I'm going to date myself, there was a series called Columbo with Peter Falk. And it was this police lieutenant with this crumpled trench coat, and it looked like he was kind of some dumb guy, but he was an absolute genius. And George, no. But George is very, very humble guy, a very humble guy who doesn't try and pose himself. But your genius for digging up stories and getting the truth on stories was really a major benefit for the city. And again, you're a friend of mine, and it's been my privilege, George.
I would just like to say about George that I think that you've had just like us, you have a real difficult job that a lot of people don't completely recognize all the time. Whenever you put words to paper, you're expressing what you've witnessed, the discussions you've had, and you essentially take a position. Although you cover all sides of these stories, you take a position, and then people get upset at you. And some of the people that get upset at you are now congratulating you, right? So here's what happens in reality. As soon as we hear George is doing a story, and it's something that we commented on, we start sweating bullets. And then we give him a phone call, and we try and twist his arm and get him to view it the way we viewed it. His job is completely different to get to the bottom line. And sometimes he shines a light on Steve Brandow, and I go, I wish that guy would not write that story, that crazy George. But then 2 weeks later, he shines a light on something, and I go, I love that guy. That's a very difficult position to be in, and it's not unlike the position that we're in, to stay independent and true to yourself and true to the calling that was spoken about. So I know that you have very, very big shoes to fill, George, but we congratulate you and thank you for your service to our community.
Well, I'll just keep my statement very short. I do want to echo everything that was shared. I know that I'm probably the council member that has the shortest time in knowing you, but I will say that from the moment that I met you a few years ago, when we first sat down, I know we had an instant connection. We had the Lindsay connection, right? We were both Lindsay High School grads, and so just having that connection was really, really amazing in terms of developing our friendship. And so I want to congratulate you and really thank you for all the work that you've done to, again, shed the light to the many issues that are impacting our community. And so I wish you good luck in all that you do, and please stay in touch. We know that you're going to continue to do great things for our city.
George, words fail. They really do. I've been thinking about this moment and thinking, how in the world would we possibly honor and recognize your contribution to the city of Fresno? And it's very, very difficult to fully express. Thank you, Councilmember Olivier, for making sure that the moment is appropriately marked. You know, when I think about my time in office, the issues we've dealt with, and the just the circumstances of the last 7 years, I think that George Hofstetter is every bit as much a fixture in the history of the city of Fresno as all 8 of us and of my senior team. And when I think of my experience as mayor of the city of Fresno, again, it will be the city council members I've worked with, my incredible team in the city manager's office, and my immediate staff, and it'll be George that I will remember for the rest of my life. And early next year, when I begin the process of chronicling and putting together my experience here as mayor, it will be your stories that become the record and the history of what I've experienced here. So for that, I want to thank you, and I want to honor you and express my deepest appreciation for your integrity. I think it's fair to say we all, at one time or another, have disagreed with the conclusion you might have drawn. But it is also fair to say that none of us would question your integrity, and none of us would question your diligence and your commitment to the best of your ability to try to get to the bottom of whatever issue it was that you were evaluating. And it is because of those reasons that we all have the utmost respect for you. We will miss you, George. I know that you're thinking, oh, they're just saying that. It is true. We will miss you. And you do have not only big shoes, but well-worn shoes to fill. And whoever it is that may take your place had better start lapping this city like you have, because it has become our expectation that the city of Fresno beat writer is quite literally walking the beat as you have. And I think that says it all in terms of your commitment to covering the city, seeing the city, every little detail, every big issue, and every small thing that has happened, certainly in my time in office. And I know your career extends well past my time here. So again, we thank you, we honor you, and we recognize you for your contributions to our community.
So, George, from one old City Hall dog to another old City Hall dog, congratulations. George is known to write a blog, and there's times that the blogs are quite lengthy and very detailed. Going back to staff reports written, I don't know, 1963. George is able to bring up and identify things that happened that I wasn't even aware of, because maybe I just didn't want to be aware of them. But nevertheless, those blogs, there's a little saying we have in our office, is that George's blog just posted, and whoever opens the blog first electronically goes, pack a lunch. So thank you, George. So since that time, I've gained about 10 or 15 pounds because I've had to pack a lunch. But I also want to acknowledge it's the detail and the in-depth analysis that you do based on other things that you have seen and reported on that I appreciate, because in this day of electronic media, it's a 30-second soundbite. It's whatever can get in and get out. But you are far more thorough. And so while there are times where all of us go, and this is your move, because you go, so Bruce, I'm confused. And the whole time I'm thinking, no, you're not. You are so far confused. The only one in here who's confused right now is me, because I'm not sure where you're going to go. But honestly and seriously, you have represented what the community's perception is of what's going on in this building. And for that, we all appreciate that insight. Because while we may not necessarily agree with you, sometimes we are so close or so inside the baseball kind of thing that we don't maybe appreciate how the community perceives our actions and what we're doing. And for that, I really do appreciate your insight, because in a lot of ways, you are the eyes of the community, and it provides, at least for me, and I think I'm seeing all the heads bob around me, a little bit of perspective of how we are seen by the community. And I appreciate that opportunity that you provided us.
Thank you, Bruce. I got one more. Party shot from Mark.
So I'm Mark Standriff. I'm Communications Director for the city, and I'm the guy that actually has to work with George every single day. Now, there are good things and bad things about that. One of the bad things is when George goes on vacation and takes a break from City Hall, I go into withdrawals, because I'm like, there's a deafening silence around this place, not only because of his diligence, but because of his presence. And I think it's a testimony to you when we talk about honoring, and the best way to kind of chronicle not only your work here at City Hall, but your footprint here, is that if you can get this many politicians to not in agreement, saying that you have not only made a difference and been successful in your endeavors, but you've been significant. And I think that's an important distinction. George and I have had many conversations at different times during the day, and inevitably we'll get to a point where we're kind of disagreeing, as old drunk rugby players do from time to time. And he will say, I will bet you a Kit Kat bar that, and then he'll come up with some sort of presence. Over the last 18 months that we've had in this incredible kind of walk we've done together here at City Hall, I felt like I've kind of built up a little, what shall I say, little payback. So in order to do that, George, I have the Kit Kats I owe you right here. I hope that takes care of it. That gets you through lunch. We're all set to go, or at least Halloween. And but I can't thank you enough. And I think I've told you this before. I know I've mentioned it to your bosses at the Bee and the folks around me. I don't think of George as a reporter so much as a Dickensian novelist. Charles Dickens was an author who used to publish the chapters of his novels every week in a serial basis. And so George has had this incredible cast of characters that have gone through City Hall, that he's chronicled. He's had incredible storylines that, frankly, most folks who deal with fiction would never believe. And yet at the end of the day, he's always there. He's been straightforward. He's been honest. His integrity has shown through all of his reporting. And my only fear is that when he finally does retire tomorrow, City Hall will suddenly disappear like Brigadoon into the mist because there's nobody here. I know that the Bee will send somebody out here, but we're looking forward to hearing from you. I'm assuming that you're going to get another gig with some other news outlet, and you'll be back on my front doorstep on Monday morning. And I'll look forward to that. But congratulations to you. You certainly deserve all of this, George. Thank you.
I've got one last thing for you, George, that I was thinking about. Bruce, you'll remember that when Jeffrey came on as city manager, the media kept asking for a media room, and they got a nice office over here, okay? And I remember it was Ann Dudley used it, John Ellis used it, Bill McEwen used it. And by the time all that went through and Jeff was here, the media room was a little closet right here in the hallway. And so George wouldn't accept that. He said, this is my office is the city. So anyway, one of the things I want to share with you, Council, is that the reporters that I mentioned whenever they covered City Hall, and there was an issue that was coming up that was a big vote issue, controversial, that type of thing, they would call around the council members, the mayor, what's your position? What's your position? How are you going to vote? George, you never asked that. How are you going to vote? And it made our work, I can tell you, a lot easier because as many of my colleagues will tell you, you'll get information at the last minute that's going to cause you to question that vote. And so you don't feel as awkward or gosh, it's making me out a liar. But it gave us that ability to be able to change our minds where, the other reporters were good, but at least that gave us really a lot of flexibility. And you really can't appreciate it unless you went through that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, I will. I will. Real quick, and I won't get the blah blah award, I promise, Paul. But just real quick, and I guess let me stand over here because I want to address our officials as well as the audience. And that is two things. One, the pronoun. Go with your job, my job. It's what I do, it's our job. And the Bee takes that position. And so as I was writing and reporting, sitting back there, it's our job. And that's the way democracy works. And so I appreciate everything that folks here have done and what you out there have done. But the second part I want to say is that Fresno, how fortunate any reporter is to cover Fresno. It's the right size of a place, and it's in the right location. And perhaps the decision makers here, I hope you see that perhaps, and as the residents, I hope you see that it's not so big as to get lost, and it's not so small like Esmeralda or Lindsay. But every issue that America faces just comes through there, and it comes through all of this, and comes through the citizens. And just the glory and the strife of self-rule occurs here, and it occurs daily. And just what a privilege it is for all of us to be a part of that. And so I thank you all, and you're right. I was thinking, I had my midlife crisis, and instead of getting a red sports car, I got a City Hall beat. And and so I think I got the better end of the deal. And so again, I thank you from the bottom. Everyone here does a great job. Our elected officials, our appointed officials, and our citizens. And I'm proud to be a Fresno. Thank you.
City Clerk, can you please read the proclamation?
Whereas George Hostetter is being recognized today for his retirement after a 28-year career as a reporter for the Fresno Bee. And whereas George Hostetter began in 1987 as a sports reporter before moving on to cover business in 1995. And whereas George Hostetter began covering Metro News beginning in 1999, where he stayed for most of the rest of his career at the Bee. And whereas George Hostetter has spent his recent years leading coverage of Fresno City Hall. And whereas George Hostetter is proudly retiring from the Fresno Bee in 2015 after a long and successful career spent walking the city and reporting the news. Now therefore be it resolved that we, Mayor Ashley Swearingen, and Fresno City Council members do hereby proclaim Thursday, October 22nd, 2015 to be George Hostetter Day in the city of Fresno. We congratulate you on the success of your hard work. Your dedication is greatly appreciated.
And Council, I think George should be pleased that we violated the Brown Act in his honor.
All right. Well, now we get back to work. So moving along on our agenda, we now are going to move to the approval of the minutes from October 8th, 2015. Do we have any changes to the minutes? Councilmember Soria.
I just have one change. I would like to add the transcripts that were sent out to the entire council for the discussion that happened on one of the particular items discussed on October 18th related to those agreements, the green waste and the co-mingled recyclable. So if we can add the full transcript as an amendment or addendum to it.
All right, so add it. Any other changes to the agenda?
That would be
to the minutes. All right, I'll now receive a motion. Second. All right, all those in favor? Aye. All right, item passes 7-0. We now have council member reports and comments. Councilmember Brandow.
Council, and I'm going to be real brief. We've had a lot of ceremonials this morning, but I did want to say that this last Saturday, the 17th, we had a Make a Difference Day at Chickchansey Park, and you joined me for a little while down there, where we served our community and over 1,000 kids from age 3 to 6 to play soccer in our community. Normally they have games throughout the community. We invite them to come to Chickchansey Park and play in the stadium. The kids love it. We give them medals. We have bounce houses as well. We feed them and their families, and they have a great time. And it's just a great way of bringing volunteers and kids and everybody together to have a great day to encourage those events. We're going to have a special day honoring all of our volunteers and donors that made it happen in a couple of weeks. But I did want to acknowledge that we just accomplished it last Saturday.
All right, Councilmember Soria.
I just want to make two brief announcements. I do want to thank the administration and the city manager staff for working with us to set a date for the ribbon cutting of the Inspiration Park. I know the community is very excited about this event, and so we're looking forward to working hard to make it as fun as possible for our entire community, and that will be November 14th. I also want to share that on November 4th, we will be having a breakfast at the park, and this is an effort to help RICV fundraise the monies necessary to continue to operate and maintain the park for this next year. So I invite everyone that wants the opportunity to come and tour the park and also help us raise those funds to ensure that we have a successful park and programming. So I want to thank everyone for supporting this effort. Thank you.
Councilmember Capriolio.
Thank you. A big shout out and congratulations to Fresno State. That was a wonderful, big win for over UNLV last weekend. And if you watched the game, it was exciting to the very, very last minute. So congratulations to Fresno State. And also I want to remind everyone again, be sure and attend the Susan Coleman race this Saturday at Fresno State University. It's really, really important, and it's a major fundraiser, and you heard the stories, and we're all touched. For me, unfortunately, by breast cancer with my mom, but there are a lot of survivors, and this program really helps in a preventative way and in every other way when it comes to breast cancer and breast cancer awareness. So be sure and show up at Fresno State on Saturday. I'll be there. Hope to see you.
All right. Those are all the council members I have. So now we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Madam Clerk, I have one change. I'd like to remove item 1J from the agenda and table that indefinitely. Item
can
1J.
I clarify something as a change to the agenda? Item on page 6, the top of page 6, item file ID 15939 should be item 1J, not item 1H. So it says item 1H, so that's what he's referring to. He wants to remove.
Right. I should have allowed her to make that. Forgive me for not allowing her to make that change first, but item 1J, file 15-939 is the one I'm removing and tabling indefinitely.
Oh, okay. Are we dealing with consent calendar?
We're approving the agenda, but I removed item 1J.
Okay.
I know you had a comment about that.
Okay, and I can make that comment now?
You can make a comment.
All right. I wanted to do a shout out to Mrs. Martin if she's watching on cable. She's a lady in District 2 that had an issue with 1J, which had to do with trash cans being put out in front of the homes and a disagreement which she had. And I really took that. It was just one single person that made an impact on me, and I had a conversation with our council president, and I think she's going to be really happy with us pulling that item today. So I just wanted to give her a shout out in case she's watching. I'll give her a personal call as well, but thank you, council president.
All right. Any other changes to the agenda? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, item passed 7-0. We are now actually, and I'm gonna change a little bit because we have a timed item at 10 o'clock. I know we may be pulling a couple items from consent calendar for discussion. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take. Can I take the timed item before the consent calendar? So I want to do that. I want to go ahead and get our timed item out of the way, and then we'll come back to the consent calendar because it's a little bit after 10. So if we have staff here for our 10 o'clock hearing.
Good morning, Council President, Council members, Mackenzie Contreras with the Development and Resource Management Department. The timed item is rezone application R1410. Staff has nothing to add to the report. However, staff has prepared a presentation if you wish to hear.
All right, thank you. We'll now take the item out to the public. Do we have any members of the public wishing to comment? Please state your name and address for the record.
Morning, Mr. President, members of the council. Jeff Roberts on behalf of CNA Farms. For the record, I'd like to state we do concur with the staff recommendation with the two conditions that have been placed on the request. We filed this this rezone request last year and have worked with staff. They've actually enlarged this request to include some properties that weren't ours. And we've worked with the folks in this particular neighborhood and with staff, and we're very happy with the outcome. So we'd appreciate your support for the request. Thank you very much.
All right. Do I have any other members of the public wishing to comment on this item? All right. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. It's in my district, and I want to publicly thank Jeff Roberts for coming to a community meeting and really taking the time to explain what this rezone was about. I was there, and it helped a lot. Jeff, it really gave a lot of comfort to the residents about what was occurring. So I'll make a motion that we approve this item. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor? All opposed? Item passes 7-0. Thanks a lot. All right, we'll now move to our consent calendar. And if we have any council members like to remove anything from the consent calendar, now would be the time. Councilmember Brandow.
Yes, Council President, I'd like to pull item 1G, please, for discussion.
All right, item 1G. And Councilmember Brand? Okay, same item, okay. All right. So we will now take the consent calendar out to the public. Do we have any members of the public wishing to comment on the consent calendar? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. Do I have a motion to approve the amended consent calendar?
So moved.
Okay, I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 7-0. And now we'll move to item 1G and Councilmember Brandow.
We go out to the public first, or?
I know, you can go. You can go.
I prefer to go to the public.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll take the item out to the public first. Do we have any members of the public wishing to comment on item 1G? State your name and address for the record.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the council. Jeff Roberts on behalf of Granville Homes. Our business address is 1396 West Herndon in the city of Fresno. Appreciate the opportunity to discuss this item. By way of background, we track anything, obviously, that the city does that we feel would have an impact on our ability to do business, and obviously those costs of doing business. So we've got some concern with this particular item, and just by way of background, today and for the past few decades, developers have had the opportunity, and any property owners have the opportunity to annex to the city using one of two methods. One of those methods has to do with filing a petition directly with LAFCO. And a close read of this particular item it appears as though one of those options may be going away. The proposed policy discussion, or we think, deserves some discussion here before this council, or at least before the commission, or have a workshop or something. But we first learned about this last Monday morning when the agenda came out. We happened to read it on the consent. This action should not be taken too lightly. It affects the land that is within the sphere that is not yet annexed, which totals a little over 28,000 acres. So there can have a lot of impact to a lot of different properties. We haven't heard of any problems with the way the conditions happen today with annexations. And the Knox-Cortese-Hertzberg Act actually provides for the ability for any property owner to file a petition directly with LAFCO. The council has a lot of control over annexations anyway, because state law provides that all lands that are to be annexed need to be pre-zoned by the city or by the municipality. The only folks that can pre-zone property is sitting right here. So you know exactly what's going on before any annexations occur. So I hope the council can create a system or some kind of opportunity for us to talk about this issue before action is taken. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I also have a card here. Forgive me, Dave Herb. I should have called you up for this item. Come on down, sir.
Thank you, Council President. Members of the council, Dave Herb, 3263 East Huntington Boulevard. It's actually appropriate that Mr. Roberts had a chance to speak first on this issue. I'm here from a slightly different angle, but a compatible angle. The concept behind what you're proposing to do in terms of adopting this resolution is a good one, because annexations, although there are options for people to go directly to LAFCO, annexation should start with the city of Fresno. What's disappointing when I look into the details of this project or this action is that there are costs related to pursuing an annexation through the city of Fresno, unfortunate costs. And the reason we have those costs is because the city no longer has an urban unification program. In fact, I'm not even sure that the people up there on the dais understand what an urban unification program is. That's a program which we used to have a broad consensus of in the metropolitan area, that encourages the consolidation of unincorporated islands into the city family. I started work with the city of Fresno back in the early 1970s, and long before I arrived, there was a broad-based consensus that urban unification was one of the most effective methods of encouraging a stronger socially and economically viable community in the metropolitan area. And then came the recession and belt tightening, and the urban unification program went away, and the institutional memory behind that program has largely disappeared. During the 25 years that I worked with the city of Fresno, I spent 7 years working on the urban unification program. Myself and the small team that I worked with during that period of time processed 350 annexations. We added 35 square miles to the city of Fresno and 35,000 people. Since then, in a later chapter of my career, I worked for 10 years as executive officer for the local agency formation commission in a neighboring county. I'm here to tell you that the problem that Mr. Roberts is speaking of today is caused by the lack of an urban unification program in the city of Fresno, and I'm personally willing to volunteer my services on a pro bono basis to participate in a discussion and to reinitiate an urban unification program for the city of Fresno. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other members of the public that would like to comment on this item? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. And Councilmember Brandow, this is your item.
Bruce, I guess your turn to get up. Right on. So, Bruce, this was on our consent calendar today, and I'm not completely, I tried to scramble and try to get an understanding of this. But real briefly, why do you feel that we need to make this change that's coming from your office?
Okay. Well, first of all, as we discussed, this was one of the conditions of the agreement that we entered into with Fresno County Fire District. The ability or previous annexations that were pursued by an individual, whether they represent a developer or just an individual, has created confusion at the LAFCO level, and more importantly in the collection of fees and things like that. More importantly, and you will see this next week, this policy mirrors what the city of Clovis already has in place. So we're not breaking, new earth or anything by adopting this policy. And LAFCO has made it very clear, at least to me, and you'll hear more about this next week, that they have requested and they have encouraged us to adopt a similar policy, the same policy that Clovis has already adopted, as well as other cities. And then as far as annexations, this applies to all annexations. And next week, when we get into, and the LAFCO representative will be here, their executive officer will be here, there's a couple of recommendations that are included in the municipal service review. And let me back up and give you a prelude of next week's presentation. LAFCO is responsible for reviewing a city's ability to provide essential services and other things, including its general plan and future looks as far as land use decisions. And apparently, and to Mr. Herb's point, for a number of years, there's been this recommendation that the city of Fresno should do a lot of things, including annexing in county islands, taking over private water systems, taking over county CSAs, and as I point out to Mr. Fye, who's the CEO, there are financial implications of that. We've done this already in the past, where we annex in property without this supporting infrastructure. No water, no sewer, no sidewalks. And at some point in time, the city of Fresno is the one who's writing a check for that.
Sure.
The county of Fresno, on the other hand, still collects the same level of property tax as it did before, but now they're no longer having to provide any of the services, nor do they have to fund any of the infrastructure. So my point has been then, in discussions with David and with staff, prior to any annexation going forward to LAFCO, the applicant, whoever the applicant may be, needs to come to us and approach us about whether or not we would or support an annexation, because my bottom line is that any annexation that we propose to you for approval under a pre-zone should be revenue neutral. So I will apologize that the staff report makes it look like we're just looking at developer-initiated annexations. What I'm recommending is this policy apply to all annexations, whether it's developer initiated or however it's initiated, because there's been too many times in the past where it's caused confusion with LAFCO, or there's been unintended consequences of annexations that we've done. And Mr. Herb is right. I can point to a 1969 JPA between the city of Fresno and the county of Fresno as far as the annexation of county islands and the creation of districts that were supposed to fund the infrastructure, but the county no longer supports the creation of districts and or the world has changed. Prop 218 requires a different threshold to occur when these annexations occur or whenever you create these districts. So all we're saying is that there needs to be a full discussion and disclosure as to the impacts, the financial impacts of any annexation and why we would or would not support the annexation when admitted to LAFCO. So I hope that kind of provides you the background and explanation.
Yeah, that's a real good background, and kind of I heard things in there that I needed to hear about annexations in our city. So thank you, Bruce. So I guess my concern today is that is a very interesting discussion to put on our consent calendar. I mean, I need to know more about that, and I really wish it had never been on our consent calendar. Now you mentioned a couple times next week. Is that a municipal service review that we're having next week, or
what I've asked Mr. Fye to do is that if you go online, LAFCO has online a draft of our municipal service review. It's about 240 pages.
Mm-hmm.
It's very in-depth. And in there are some recommendations related to a number of things, including annexation. So the reason I bring this up today is that this policy discussion regarding annexations has shifted, and their recommendation has also shifted because of some of the concerns I've expressed to him. So that's why I just brought it up, because it will be one of those other topics that he will be talking about next week. In other words, we're just not, one, in there is a recommendation that we adopt this policy, but two, more importantly, that any future annexations at a minimum need to be revenue neutral.
Okay, and I like both of those thoughts. To me, it still seems like we should hear that. Is that going to be in like a workshop format?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So if the public has comments about that, we'll have to ask them up. They won't. Is that correct? It'll be in a workshop format.
In workshop format, typically we don't have public comment. If in fact a council member would like to ask a particular question from a member of the public, that's okay.
Okay. Well, I will definitely ask both these two gentlemen back up to express themselves. So Bruce, honestly, I like what you've just shared with us, but I need more time to hear what Mr. Roberts and Mr. Herb both said. I'll set meetings with both of you, by the way. Mr. Herb, especially, I haven't met with you in a long time. I would love to hear more about the urban unification program. And then, so Bruce, I guess after hearing from the public and you today, I'm going to make a motion that we move our vote on this conversation until after your municipal service review with Mr. Fay from LAFCO, right?
Right.
Okay. And then also I'd like to connect this conversation with our development code update because we do talk about annexations in section 15-6104. So that's what I'm going to make a motion today, is that we don't vote on this today, that we not only do we hear next week from LAFCO, but we move this into the debate over the development code when we tackle 15-6104 dealing with annexations.
So let's do this. So yeah, that's a continuing. You want to have two other discussions before we vote on this, right?
Yeah, I think we need a thorough discussion. So next week we'll hear from LAFCO, and we can pepper LAFCO administration with questions, and then we need time for the community to hear what's all been said and digest it and then make some recommendations, because we're going to deal with annexations within the development code, and this could easily fit right in with those.
No, sir, I totally get what you're saying. I just want to find out how we time it right. I know we just talked about the development code workshops and the schedule for that. Bruce, off the top of your head, and you may not know this, and that's okay, do you know when we'll talk about the annexations on the development code?
We can include it in the workshop. I will tell you the language in the development code can be amended to say that we will work with applicants closely on any annexation. That's basically what it's going to say is what I just told you, that before an annexation is pre-zoned and we bring it before you for consideration, the applicant has to sit down with us and go over.
Hold on really quick, Bruce. I don't want to get into the I just want to kind of figure out the timing on.
Friday 29th?
So why don't we do this, Steve, see if this works. Can we continue the item to the day that we vote on the development code?
Yes.
Would that be okay?
We vote on the development code.
And I think we're scheduled to vote on that end of November. November 19th? Okay.
So when the development code public hearing and introduction.
So what we'll do is, I'm trying to just make sure I understand Councilmember Brandau's motion. He really wants to allow a couple more discussions to happen before we vote on this, which I think is fine. So why don't we continue the item till 10 to November 19th?
Unless that development code conversation somehow gets postponed, right?
Yeah, but we don't know exactly when. I don't want to ask Bruce to tell me exactly what day they're going to have the development code workshop. We know that if we time this into when we vote on development code, we will have had the workshops.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay, so we'll continue this till 11:19. Fair enough.
My motion.
That's your motion. Okay. Do we have a second for that? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Okay, Councilmember, are you done?
I'm done. Thank you.
Councilmember Brand.
A lot of stuff, Councilman Brandell's already asked the questions, but I think that, I'm willing to go with the delay, and I see the logic in incorporating this in the development code. But I think it's really many, many years past due. My 7 years and 5 years on the Planning Commission, I've seen these things go forward. I've seen the ambiguity of an individual owner, whether it be a small owner or a major property owner that goes forward. Sometimes inconsistent with the general plan, and it doesn't play out well. And we've certainly had, I think about 10 years ago, a little history and controversy with LAFCO and the city on Sega. So I think that the broader issue, too, is in calling, for basically, pre-zoning, not simply within the existing city limits, but within the city sphere, those properties that we've identified, that if we pre-zone, when we're trying as we go forward on the development code to the at-right building, and truly the overarching goal is streamlining the city of Fresno to become business friendly, to make it easy to do a project. By making this the pre-zoning, in my opinion, and the at-right, that's a huge step in making the city move forward on this front. And really, for many years, always, well, Clovis does it this way. Well, in the future, I'd like it to say Fresno does it this way, and Fresno does it the right way. So I'm okay with the change, but I think we need to take a closer look at this thing. And if we're going to do it, let's do it right. And I want to thank the city manager for bringing this forward. Thank you.
Councilmember Soria.
I'll just keep my comments and questions very briefly, but I agree, and I want to thank Councilmember Brandau for raising some of the questions that he did. So just one question. So if it's owner-initiated with LAFCO, once LAFCO has made a decision, we still have the ability to decide whether we want to move forward with the annexation or not. No?
No, I think correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, if it goes to LAFCO and LAFCO approves the annexation, we've been down this path before. The annexation's approved.
Okay. And so I think the extra time, at least for me, also will allow me to ask a few more other questions and even go through, I think, the resolution, because I know that you just mentioned that the goal wasn't just to focus on developers, but anyone, right? That is trying to annex. And even the language in the resolution seems to specifically specify developers. It says, I believe it says developer to cover all necessary costs. I think also looking at the language on the resolution. And then the next thing in terms of covering all necessary costs, I think that we have to also look at the fact that the city does have ability to apply for state funding for some of these things, like for connections, if it's sewers and so forth. So in looking at that, so I think that should be part of the consideration in terms of whatever policy we end up formulating. And so I look forward to having that discussion. Maybe we can set some time to just kind of go through other questions that I may have. But I thank you for giving us the extra time.
Councilmember Quintero.
City Manager, is this a time-sensitive item?
No, we can go until the 19th. I think it would be helpful for the council to hear Mr. Fai's presentation from LAFCO and get a broader understanding of some of the background. Councilmember Sori is right. The policy or the intent of this policy is far-reaching. It's not just developer-initiated annexations. But the world has changed a lot since over the last 20 or 30 years. And so we also have now acknowledged and appreciate the cost or future liability costs of development, wherever development occurs. Our requirement not only to provide infrastructure, but also to provide not only build parks, but maintain parks or provide police or provide fire. So with that, I think it would be helpful for us to have then a holistic discussion regarding all annexations, because those are things that we should not go lightly into without acknowledging the future liability or future costs associated with those annexations. In addition, and again, this is part of the conversation about the unified policies or strategies adopted probably 30 years ago, and I'll use water districts or a county CSA. I'm not necessarily, from your professional, interested in taking on somebody's water system or water district, given that I have no idea what the condition is. We've done that once. Thankfully, the state stepped in and helped provide the funding for the infrastructure. But at the end of the day, without knowing what the future liability costs of those other assets, to me, this whole conversation around annexations or taking over or assuming responsibility for other entities or county islands or whatever the case may be is something that we as policymakers should really deal with and give staff direction on.
And then you mentioned that the city of Clovis currently does this?
This is replicated as to what Clovis has had for a number of years, this policy, which is provide clear direction to LAFCO staff as to whether or not this is or isn't supported by the city of Fresno. In the past, we've not taken, I don't recall if we've taken formal action at the policy level. The previous annexations that we opposed were opposed by the administration. So LAFCO would like something that says that these things are going to be reviewed by the council before they're submitted to LAFCO.
It seems like something like this would just foster a better relationship with LAFCO and, for lack of a better word, create less infighting between the agencies.
Hopefully that's one of the outcomes.
It's one of the outcomes? Okay. All right. So then there's no time-sensitive item on that. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. We have a motion to continue this item until 11:19. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Item is continued till 11:19. Thanks. All right. Moving right along, we'll now handle our general administration items. First up is 2A, a resolution authorizing execution of a contract for temporary water service with the United States Bureau of Reclamation to accept possible non-storable flood flows from Middleton Lake during water year 2015-16. Tommy.
Great. Thank you, Council President, City Council. This item before you today is a request to enter into a separate contract with the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation to accept what we'll call flood releases that may occur during this water year. Water year for the Bureau runs from March 1st through February of the following year, so we would be entering into this contract, which would allow us to accept flood release flows through February 29th. We'll then be in the process of working with the Bureau to execute another contract, 215, that'll go for the following year. That would be the 216-217 year. By signing this contract, executing this contract, we're not obligated to take anything or incur any costs, only if we accept the water. However, without the contract in place, we are not in a position to accept the water. The waters that will come as a result of this, we've talked with the Bureau, we may get hours notification, we may get days notification, but it won't be weeks in advance. It'll be as a result of some rain event or precipitation event that'll occur. So everybody's been talking about El Nino, El Nino, El Nino. So this is our kind of El Nino backstop, that if that does come to pass, that we'd go ahead and be in a position to take that phone call and accept this water. Accepting this water will be pretty much a 3 to 4 party coordination effort. We'll get the call from the Bureau. We'll then be coordinating with the Fresno Irrigation District and the Fresno Metropolitan Flood Control District, and we'll make arrangements. The water will get released to the Frank Kern Canal, and then we'll pick it up in the FID system, and then we'll work with FMFCD and FID to make calls on which ponds we'll distribute it to throughout the city. So that is the request. The contract right now is it was previously negotiated with Friant Water Authority agencies and the Bureau. It's a fill-in-the-blank contract. Everybody right now is scrambling to get their 218s in the Friant Division. So what the Bureau has asked is that we go ahead and approve the resolution today indicating Council's desire to enter into this contract, and then the Bureau is kind of backlogged in trying to fill in the blanks, and then we'll get the fill-in-the-blank contract. And it just has our name, our contract number, amount of Class 1 water, amount of flood control. They'll just fill in the blanks for us. So we're waiting for all that. Ms. White today is at the Friant Water Authority meeting, and they're talking about all their resolutions and getting all their contracts in place. So with that, we'd like approval to execute this contract and get ready for El Nino. I'll have an agenda item later that takes the opposite view. In the event we don't get El Nino and we have to, the drought does continue, we'll have that discussion next. So thank you. I'm prepared for any questions.
All right. We'll now take the item out to the public. Do we have any members of the public wishing to comment on this item? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. Councilman Brandau.
Tommy, got a couple questions for you. So, as you know, I sit on the Kings Basin District, and so there's conversations going all over the place now about El Nino, and you mentioned it just now. So this is, if I was simplifying, this is for potential floodwaters, right? And we always in a contract, but we need to make sure we're in a solid footing. Should there be floodwaters, which is the way we view it, extra water for the city of Fresno,
correct.
Right? And then, so I'm very supportive of that, and I'm going to make a motion to accept the staff recommendation. But I did want to ask a question. Is the city of Fresno doing any extra work to prepare for potential El Nino water that are we adding any basins? Or are we working with FID to open up new basins or Metro Flood Control District? Are we doing anything extra? Are we clearing out canals? I know that conveying of the water is sometimes a chokehold. Right. So is the city of Fresno addressing any of these things?
So at this point today, we it's Fresno Metropolitan Flood, City of Clovis, FID, and the City of Fresno are working to update all of the hydraulic modeling that is occurring for all of the canals and the FID in the FMFCD basins. So there was a model that was developed, I believe it was in the mid-90s, that identified how floodwaters would get routed through the city. Since that time, FMFCD and FID in the city have added more basins. So we're currently in the process right now of updating that model because we have more capacity now. We can move more water through the system, and we're working through that process right now. So we are in the process right now of doing a routing effort to figure out when the water comes, how are we going to move it from basin to basin to canal to basin. And then for us, the city of Fresno, what we're doing is at the wastewater plant, the Dry Creek Canal runs through all the way through town, runs right by our wastewater plant. We currently are permitted at that plant to treat 80 million gallons a day in our ponds. We're only receiving 60 million gallons a day now. So we have about 20 million gallons a day of ponds that we're working right now to make available so that once we fill the waters up in the, like say at the east side of the city, if we still have release waters, we'll bring them through the Dry Creek Canal and start pushing that into some basins that we have available at the wastewater plant. So all the contingency options are being evaluated right now and how we move it, convey it, store it, and then possibly even keep moving it as we need to from the east side to the west.
Thank you. And then even at this late date, is there an opportunity for us to scramble and create more recharge applications or storage applications?
So what we've done is we've reconditioned all of the basins at our leaky acre site, our 200-acre site. So we've reconditioned all those so that we can get those to percolate more. We're constantly doing that at the wastewater plant, so all of those are reconditioned. We do have a project on the books to build a Nielsen basin, so that's in the final design stages, and so we're looking to get that up and running as soon as possible. So, and FMFCD is looking at some basin work. We're working with them right now to recondition some basins as well. So we're making some equipment available that we're putting into their basins, and we're ripping them and getting them ready to move water into those. So we're mobilizing equipment, people, and gear to get ready to get water.
Well, I appreciate all of those efforts. Just like you, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for El Nino. Right. Yep. And so thanks for the update, Tommy. I'm going to make a motion to accept staff recommendation on this contract.
Second. All right. We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 7-0. Next up, we have item 2B, receive and accept a report on city's compliance status for the state-mandated water use reductions and recommended temporary adjustments to the water conservation program.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Council President. Thank you, City Council. On April 30th, we gave you a presentation on our drought management planning efforts in advance of the governor's executive order becoming effective. And so now what we'd like to do is talk to you about the progress we've made since that governor's order and some adjustments we'd like to make in that program for these last 5 months that order is effective. So we'll talk about the order, our water conservation program, the effectiveness of our program, some temporary adjustments we'd like to make. We want to also use this opportunity to give you a sense of just how we might look at the planning if the drought continues for a 5th year, and what that stage 3 might look like for us. We'll call it stage 3. We are currently in stage 2 right now. So again, the governor put out that order, 31 measures, 25% reduction in water use throughout the state. We got assigned a reduction of 28% compared to 2013. The big elements in that were prohibiting the irrigation and ornamental turf on street medians, prohibition of landscape on new constructed homes and buildings unless they had a drip system, and then the city had the state's requiring a model efficient landscape ordinance. That'll be part of the development code process that you guys will be hearing about. Again, that went into effect, got approved by the board May 5th, and then the Office of Legal Administrative Law Review approved it on May 18th, and it became effective June 1st. That's when the go date was to start getting ready. The reason we got 28% was the way the law got written was if you had a gallon per capita use between 130 and 170, you were at 28% level 7. The way we were able to achieve that 28% and didn't get hit with a 36% like our friends over at the city of Clovis was that we had initiated the stage 2 conservation early. It was a good step. We got in there early. We got our numbers down, saved 6 billion gallons, and then that got us into the 28% category. Here's how they made that calculation. This is just our calendar year 13 and calendar year 14. As you can see, and so what they take is your multifamily, your single family, that total consumption divided by your population, you get 171 and 152. So we were in that range. In the window they looked at, they put us at that 150. So here's how water gets used in the city, and this is, if you look at this, if we're going to look at opportunities to save water, we got to look at how do we actually use the water. And as you can see, December, January, and February, average usage in the city of Fresno is about 2.2 billion gallons per month. So that's what we call the basic sanitation level of cooking, cleaning, washing, bathing, those types of efforts. There's still some one-day-a-week watering there, but about 2.2 billion is the low point for our system. Outdoor watering is the big peak you see in there, and so that's about 18.6 billion gallons we use for that. So if we were going to do a program to get our reductions down, we had to get it out of those peak months, and about 46% of our water is outdoor watering. So that we built a program focused on that effort. And here's a long list of things that we did coming up to you in April 30th. When we came to you on April 30th, giving you our ideas, we enhanced our education and outreach, hammered the TV and the radio and print. We adjusted the watering schedule. We had water reduction target, irrigation clock adjustments. We've been out meeting with people at their properties, helping them with irrigation clock adjustments, landscape consultations, water leak surveys. We were 3 weeks out on those, just full speed ahead, going to meet with people to get them some help that they needed to assess their usage, and that was pretty effective. We did enhance our enforcement of outdoor watering restrictions. We went to the hourly water meter data, started pulling that, and then we started mailing postcards to individuals in advance as we identified from the metering data individuals that might have had an issue with either a leak, clock adjustment, timing, something, just to say, hey, we need a soft reminder. Can you take a look at your clock? Obviously, we implemented the mandatory prohibitions on the medians and the new construction, so that's been moving forward. We expanded, as part of that effort, in the Water Conservation Act that was brought forward and approved by City Council, we expanded our water conservation rebate program. We included the turf replacement rebates. We have one. City followed suit. They have one now that's now available to our citizens here. It is the number one requested rebate in our water conservation program is the turf replacement. And then the state has some other additional rebates. So that proved pretty positive. We promoted the availability of extracted groundwater out at the regional wastewater plant at no cost. We've been, and since July, when the program went live, we've made 10 million gallons of water available to residents and businesses that have come out and taken the time to take advantage of that free water. We made some revisions to the water waste ordinance. We changed the time of day. We changed the period of record, for our winter versus summer, and we modified our utility bill notification. Again, as part of the Water Conservation Act, there was a request to make some information available on the water bill, utility bill. We did that. We've now enhanced that and made additional notifications available. That has proved very positive. People are responding favorably to those changes. So we had a whole suite of things that we did, and we, to this point, have met our standard of 28%. Now, we get a lot of calls. How did you do it? How did you do it? I can't tell you which one did it. I can tell you we did. We tell them we threw everything we could at it to get to the 28%, and we've done it. But I can't tell you if it was enhanced enforcement, these water conservation. I just know all the things together worked well to get us to the 28% where we are. Our enforcement approach, we were really focused on the outdoor watering events on Monday, Thursday, and Friday. That was the thing we really wanted to get after. Those are the days with our 2-day-a-week watering, no watering was allowed. We queried the database. We searched for users that were 300 gallons per hour or more on Mondays, Thursdays, Fridays. When we identified those, we kind of targeted it, indicating that might be related to just the timer was off and was picking the wrong days and the wrong hours. We sent notifications to individuals, and so through that process, when we kept communicating with individuals, we've those repeat individuals that were watering, that we have identified as watering on a Monday, Thursday, and a Friday, we've gone from 2,000 accounts that kind of were habitual that way. Now we're down to about 730. So the message got out. We communicated. We still got some work to do because it's obviously not zero, but we've really been able to communicate well with the community, and they have responded fantastically to the message, and we continue to see the numbers go down. This is just, I apologize for all the reading, but this was a sample of a postcard that got sent to individuals that we would send to them, just asking them to maybe check their clock, and if they continued, we'd have to come out and talk with us more, and it's $45 fine. And so we kind of talked through this effort with them. We got some phone calls from folks about when we sent the cards out initially, and as we did, we would then send them back their hourly meter data for the month, the week, and they could see, oh, you're right. I got to I got to fix my clock. Do you have somebody who can help me? Yep. Give me your name, address, and we will send somebody out to help you with your clock. And people would get their clocks fixed and adjusted, and they'd be off the list, and they would be ordering on the days they should, on the schedule that they should. So here's been our water enforcement activity. You can see the notices of $45 fines have been about 6,800. Overall, notices, no fines, 20,000. We've been very, very active with this effort. Now, not all of these fines resulted in us collecting $45 because we don't, on your first incident, we don't charge you we charge the $45, but we won't collect that $45 until your fifth time because you've been habitual. So some of these are ones that we've issued the fine, but we haven't collected the money because people are still in their first incident. And again, this has been pretty active. I got to give credit to the community, because the community has been communicating with us through emails directly to Water Conservation. We have a web-based form people can fill out to send us notifications. We have the phone number. We get phone calls. And with the new Fresco app, we get Fresco, and we get right to the date, the hour, the block, the address of, hey, my neighbor is. And so we've gotten no lack of support from the community in terms of letting us know, my neighbor needs a little attention. Can you get out there and have a talk with them? And so we've done that, and we send the postcards out. So it's been a pretty good program. And a little bit about the extracted water program. So we have 17 commercial customers assigned to the program right now. We have 139 residential. These are the number of visits each month that we've had during that period of time. So you can see it's quite a lot of activity at this station. We got a lot of people coming in. We just got a call from Caltrans Monday. They have a project that they'd like to use our recycled water on. They estimate anywhere from 50 to 100 trucks a day coming out. That's water that would have come out of the hydrants will now come out of the recycled water program, and so they'll be taking advantage. And again, in this period of time from July to October, 10 million gallons have been used. That's water we didn't have to pull out of the ground. Out of our potable water system that we made available as an alternative supply. And it's a preemptive marketing strategy we have for the whole recycled water program. So we're very excited at the response in the community, and I think it says good things about where we're headed in getting the recycled water program up and running and fully developed. The rebate program, our program was 50 cents per square foot, up to 500 square feet. State just started their program. They're doing $2 a square foot, up to $1,000. That's on our website. So we're promoting people to get out, get active, get applying for this. And you can put them together. So it's not like if you get the cities, you can't get the states. If you get the states, you can't get ours. People can put them together and take advantage of both programs. So this is, again, for us, as part of the Water Conservation Act that was promoted or was approved by the council. One of the ideas was the turf replacement. This has proven to be pretty positive. And as you can see, so year to date, we've spent $34,500 in water conservation rebates. And again, over half of that has been for turf replacement. So it was a good call to go ahead and do the turf replacement because it's been well received and it's been the most active program we have out there right now. So the modified water bill notification, again, as a result of from the Water Conservation Act, getting information out, request was made, hey, can we put information on the water bill, providing information to individuals about their usage. So the note that started going out in December, January was a note like this: your monthly average household water use is this number, you used this number, so people could see, well, where's my water use compared to everybody else? And you can kind of compare yourself and benchmark against the community. Starting in September, we added another note to the message, and that's this message. If required by drought conditions, your Stage 3 water allocation will be a number. It'll be different for each account. And you are currently 1,200 gallons, in this instance, 1,200 gallons below your stage. And we have the note, thank you for conserving. And if you're above, we would indicate, please assist with conserving water for the program. If we go to Stage 3, this is how it's currently outlined in our water shortage response plan. Single family gets 110% of your January, February use. Commercial is 85% of your overall annual use. Industrial, 85% of annual, and irrigation is 50% of average annual. We are currently in the process. We have a consultant on board that is looking at, again, this is as a result of the Water Conservation Act and the timing of the state. We are reviewing all these numbers right now to determine if these are the most appropriate numbers or if adjustments are due. But we are these are currently the numbers that are in our water shortage response plan. So this has been received pretty favorably. We get comments about this. So again, what we wanted to do was go after that Monday, Thursday, Friday activity. And so you can see those are the non-allowable watering days, and so in red you have the 2013, orange is 14, blue is 15. So you can see in 13 and 14, there's some difference between 13 and Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but this year we really crushed it on Monday, Thursday, Friday. The community really responded well in getting their water use down on Monday, Thursday, Friday. It was very impressive to see what they did, and and you can see on the Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, which are allowable watering days, pretty flat. I mean, people, what they use their water those days. This year, it's not unusual for the city in the middle of summer to use 160 million gallons in a single day, a lot. In some years, we went 200 plus. This year, we had one day, I believe, we went over 160 million gallons. So that's a good indication that people got the message. They reduced their watering, and we kept the peak down this summer. Well below with what has been historically used here in the city. So again, there's been a lot of good effectiveness to the measure. So these are all the effectiveness measures that we're looking at. We put all this effort into the water conservation messaging. Well, did it do anything? And this is the data we're looking at to tell us we got the effect that we wanted. So here is what the curve will look like, 13 versus 15. For 28% reduction. We're through September right now, but this is what the curve should look like for us. The state's test that they're running us through, or this target reduction, is a June through February. They want to see a 28% reduction over that period. So from June through September, we are at 28%. We saved 6.2 billion gallons in that 4-month period. If you want to compare, last year when we went to stage 2, we did 6 billion gallons in savings over 9 months. So this is pretty impressive that we did 6 billion gallons in 4 months compared to what we did last year. So again, the community is just crazy good. I mean, these are just crazy good numbers. So now what we want to do is talk about, and so the greatest opportunity for savings is in June, July, August, September. Now we're entering into a different phase of the year. As you can see, we use less water overall as a community. So what do we want to do October through February? What reduction? So we'd like to advance some temporary adjustments to the water conservation program to get another 3.9 billion gallons of water saved for the system. And so let's talk a little bit about that. What we'd like to advance is from November 2015 to February 29, 2016. February 29, 2016, that is the end of the governor's existing executive order. That's when it ends. It could always be extended, but that's when it ends. So effective November 1st, we'd like to enforce 1 day per week watering for all classes of customers. Our historic transition has been December 1st, so we'd like to go 30 days early. Just like we did last year, we went early on stage 2. That saved us from being in the 36% category that our friends Clovis are in right now. So again, we think in the event this drought doesn't end, goes into a 5th year, we want to kind of get ahead of the curve and get those savings booked now that we can. We'd like to launch a new public education campaign, Be a Zero Hero, and so Be a Zero Hero, but just be voluntary. During this period of time, November 1 to February 29, we'd like to encourage people, when they can, and the rain's available or the cool temperatures are available, don't water that week. Just see if your lawn can tolerate no watering that week, and try for a 0 week. Again, we don't think it'll be possible to go 0 November 1 to February 29th each and every week. But for those weeks you can, take an effort, help us out, try and get that water saved. We'd like to implement a water conservation recognition and reward program. As we noticed, we've sent out 28,000 notifications telling people not doing well, please do better. 6,800 people got the $45 fine notice. What we'd like to do is go to the other side and reward people, those people who have actually done pretty good and are doing what we've asked. Let's recognize them, reward them, and say thank you, and make something available to them water related for their program. So we'd like to advance that. And we look at 2 periods for awarding people. First period will be January 1, 2015 to September 30th. That's the period that's already passed. So we'll go ahead and identify those who have saved the most water in each class, recognize them and reward them. The second period will be November 1st through February 29th. That's these last 4 months, where we want to really try and save a lot of water. People can take advantage of the Zero Hero program, identify those individuals, reward them for a job well done, and get that out. So again, we've got the hammer. We'd like to put a carrot out there to reward people for doing a great job. And then what we'd like to do is we started the beginning of preliminary planning for the 2016, 2017 water use reductions. We can hope that it's going to rain, but we've got a plan that it won't, and we've got to make preparations for that. So here's how we would see the water use restriction modification planning schedule. February 29, 2016, that's the end of the governor's existing executive order. That's when it'll be done. It ends. And what will happen at that point is we'll review actual precipitation data December, January, and February. Did it rain and did it snow? Once we look at that, what are the reservoir levels and the snowpack levels? How do our water supply entitlements and allocations change? Because we'll get updates from FID and the Bureau of Rec right in that time period too. So we'll have a sense of where are we on February 29th, really March 1st. What happened? How did we do with rainfall? And then based on that precipitation data, we and everyone in the state, and most importantly the state, will make a drought status determination. So we think one of two things will happen. Drought relief was achieved. It rained a lot. It snowed a lot. It's all here. And maybe there'll be some potential relief from our restrictions that we have. Or the drought relief was not achieved. It did not rain. The reservoirs are still empty. The snowpack is thin. And we've got to make preparations for enhanced restrictions. That'll be on February 29th. March, if it doesn't rain, what are we going to do? What's that next level of reduction? I can tell you it's not here, but I'll update you. And develop a plan for enhanced water use restrictions, again, May 1 to February 28 the following year. April, we'll bring to you folks recommendations on what that might look like. It'll probably be guided by whatever the governor is preparing, because he did it last year, April. He'll do it this year, April. And then in May, like we did this year, we'll come back to you with a recommendation on what we'd like to do to make changes to the water conservation program and enhance water restrictions. This is the doesn't rain scenario. So looking a little bit at stage 3, what might that look like? So right now, stage 2 is 25% reduction. That's what we're looking at. And we're going to do 28 on our stage 2. We've been very successful with the community. We're in that 25 to 28. So our stage 2 is doing what we want it to do. If it doesn't rain, the 25 will not be 25. The governor will make another number. That pushes us into the stage 3 likely. Triggering events for stage 3, as our water shortage response plan is currently listed, is our projected surface water volumes are reduced by 10%. Well, they'll historically been at 174. We will be significantly below that. We're significantly below that now, so we check that box. The volume of surface water supply from FID is reduced by 35% or more. Where right now we're only at 36% of normal, so we'll check that box. Our volume of surface water supply from Bureau is reduced by 35% or more. We're getting 0. Check that box. The only one that we haven't checked yet is just the 1-year loss in groundwater levels is 5 feet in a year or 10 feet in 2 years. So we lost 4 feet last year. We're trending to 2 right now. So that's the one. And that's just that is a true testament to the resiliency of our groundwater supply, that is a pretty nice little savings account for us, that it's been able to hold up that well in what is now the drought of record for the city. So that's been pretty impressive that it's held up that well. But we can't always rely on it to hold up that well. So our stage 2 measures we should be able to make compliance with the 25%, 28. So we should be good there. We meet the requirements to go to stage 3. And so right now we are not doing that. We're defaulting to the governor's order for 28%. So that's why we haven't triggered the stage 3 yet. So here's the date. Monday, State Water Resources Control Board is convening people around the state to talk about what are we going to do if it doesn't rain. And so they're looking for ideas from the utilities already on what happens if we get to February 29th, didn't rain, reservoirs are empty, and there's no snowpack. So that discussion is starting now, and that'll occur on Monday. And people will start talking about how bad, what are the options, what are we going to do. Stage 3 implementation, again, assuming it doesn't continues for a 5th year. Right now, our tentative thought is that we would restrict outdoor watering to 1 day a week. So we're at 2, go to 1, possibly starting May 1st. Phase 2 would be to adopt water allocations by account. Those are the notes that we're putting on people's bills now, so people get a sense of if we go to stage 3, what would my number be? Well, we're putting on everybody's bill right now what their number would be. Possible start date? Don't know. We really need to see what level of rainfall and precipitation that we got, and then the other thing we'll look at is what does 1 day a week outdoor watering look. What kind of effectiveness do we get out of that program, and if we can weather the, I'll call it storm, but if we can weather the drought with 1 day a week watering, that might be the extent of it. But if we don't, then we'll have to consider that next step on the stage 3. And that concludes the update. Be welcome to take any questions. Sorry for the length, but we've been busy, got a lot going on, and appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, Tommy. We'll now take this item out to the public. Do we have any members of the public wishing to comment on this item? All right. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. Councilmember Brand.
It's a long story, huh?
Yeah, sorry.
Seems like we've been here before.
Yes, yes.
Everybody's talking about El Nino this wintertime, and we don't know if it comes, and more importantly, is it a warm El Nino that, I guess let's say we get 15 inches of rain, but it's really a series of warm fronts. It really doesn't get into the watershed up there in snowpack. And it's still going to benefit in terms of replenishing the water table and stuff. But how important is that we?
Yeah, getting a heavier than normal precipitation that has a mix of rainfall and good snowpack. Mm-hmm. We really are looking for the snowpack because so the reservoir is one place to store water. The snowpack is another water supply storage vehicle for us because it stays up in the mountains. Reservoirs can stay full, and as we're depleting down the reservoir, the snowpack is melting, and it's just kind of a continuous refilling cycle as that happens. But if it all just comes as rain, two bad things happen. One is it doesn't stay up in there snowpack, and when it floods, and we got to release it. The other thing is with the fires that we've had, the amount of sediment that will get into the reservoirs will probably accelerate that. Every reservoir is designed with a sediment storage pool, but this will accelerate the filling of that storage pool, so that'll impact some of the availability of the water as well. So long term, we really are hoping for please snow, just snow and stay up there and wait for the sun to release.
So let's say we had, it was like back in 1984, 85, we had like 20 inches of rain, or 18. I remember I was skiing at Sierra Summit. There was like 20 feet of snow up there. If we had some explosive, year with a lot of snow, a lot of rain, would 1 year get us enough to say actually draw back to stage 1? Or is that?
There's a scenario out there that could happen, but we'd want to see how that water got released to us. Mm-hmm. Ideally, what we would have is 20 feet of snow that actually carried through the summer, carried into September, October, and just kind of stayed there for a couple of years, and that can happen as well. So that's one of the things we would hope, that we wouldn't get all the rain, get all the snow, and then it melts down to zero, and then we got to start over because I don't think we can assimilate that volume of water.
This goes back to the debate we had last year. Is that when that surface water treatment plant is completed, we're then going to have the capacity, if there is this big water year, and when we're getting 200,000 acre feet of surface water, because right now we can't even utilize half of that, right? That's
Exactly.
roughly 3 or 4 years away, right?
Right.
So we're still, even if we have a big year, which is good, it would even be more likely to trigger a reversal if we had that surface water treatment plant available to basically bank that water, right?
Bank that water, exactly.
Okay. And here's a related question based on what everybody's seen in the news on these horrendous tropical storms that are going across the Midwest and the eastern seaboard. And what we saw recently on the Grapevine, where these mudslides took out, the entire Grapevine, are we capable in Fresno, if we get some gigantic storm here, that I've seen it before, where the storm drains they're full and clogged like that? People like me who didn't clean their rain gutters, the water's pouring down. In terms of sandbags, emergency plans.
Interesting you brought that up because we just spent the last 3 days in very intense training for us to understand how we effectively work with our other agencies to manage a very long event, any kind of disaster or incident, from floods to chemical releases. We are going to follow up that training with actual tabletop exercises. It's my goal to eventually bring other agencies into this exercise. When I say other agencies, other stakeholders such as PG&E and other service providers. But as for flooding, we have our storm SWAT team in Public Works and Public Utilities. We are as prepared as we can be. But in the event of a historic kind of event, the reason we had the training yesterday and the reason we will continue to train over the next 3 to 4 months is in preparation of some kind of event occurring which goes beyond our capacity, and we have to bring in other agencies to support us.
Yeah, the ultimate irony is that we're a city that's on a long-term drought that is, on a severe ration of water, and we get inundated with all this water that just simply drowns us, temporarily. And I'm glad to hear that we've got that planning, because based on what I've seen in other communities, these are really critical times to do that. I want to congratulate you on improving the web page. Although I'd like to see it has like a little rebate with dollar signs. Put that about triple that size, so it's so simple that anybody can click it. Because once you go there, it is much more detailed. And it has, you mentioned the 50 cents per square foot turf conversion. And you said the state of California is offering $2. Is there a link? I didn't see a link in there to go to.
We had a link on there. I'll double check, but there was a link for the state rebate program as well, because we've been encouraging that. We've been putting it in our utility zone notice as well to let people know, get out there, get the money. And so I'll double check, but it should be a link on there.
Yeah, just to make it is absolutely, seamless and easy to just navigate, get there, go online, get the application. And so how are we doing since we did the Water Conservation Act about a year ago?
Almost a year to the day.
How many people have applied, or what kind of dollars have they used out of that fund?
So right now we've only used, we've used $34,000 through the first 4 months of this year. So the dollar distribution is down. The number one is the rebate program, is the turf replacement program. Our challenge has been, we have been focused so heavy on getting to people's properties to help them with their clocks, their leaks, their stuff. So our capacity to get the dollars out has been kind of restricted a little bit because we've been just getting on people's property to help them. Right. But the demand is there.
We had $500,000, right? That was the amount.
You had $250,000 this year and $250,000 next year. And with the rebates, one of the ways we're going to be able to supplement that is for those fines of the $6,800 that actually were second and third fines, where that money will go to supplement that as well.
So basically, finance rebates
for this particular. It's not a reliable sort, but this year we're like, hey, we're going to generate some revenue.
Ratepayers themselves are not.
No. Yeah, it's not ratepayer money.
That's good. Okay, but I would just recommend that we, whether it be through our mailers or public service announcements, that we just make a little more outreach on these rebates to get people to take advantage of them. And I know a lot of people, I still get calls and emails, can I get a rebate? And just the easier it is, the more common is put out there, the better. And particularly the link up with the state on the deals. My lawn is gone. I'm still debating, I don't think I'm going to go the artificial turf. I'm going to probably go the xeriscape. So. In other words, is there a list of xeriscape landscapers out there that the city has?
We have a number. We have a list, but I don't think we post it on our website. So I can go ahead and talk with our conservation.
Would you email me that list? I like to talk.
Yep.
I've talked to a couple already.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
So I like to get that, and I think it's a good idea. And then the final question really would be, the other way that we attack this problem is through reclamation. And I know we had this debate here a few months ago, and we're talking about hopefully 20,000 acre feet in the next 4 or 5 years. And I would say if this route, you take the worst case scenario where it's just going to 1 year after another, we're probably 1 year away, another 5 or 6 inch a year, we're probably in stage 3, right?
Right.
Okay. And so you get to that stage, and then, you almost only have one other option or one tool, and that's primarily going to be reclamation. And maybe we should, at some time in the future, consider expanding that effort too. Because you mentioned 46, I've heard up to 65% for landscape. Is it 45% or 65? What's the true figure?
So right now, based on our water meter data, so you can see that it's about 46% is right now is where we are. And I could see where historically, so that's based on 46% today. based on a 2-day per week watering, there were years, and that's 128,000 acre feet per year. There were years where we were putting 165,000 acre feet to the system. So in 165,000 acre feet production year, we were probably 60 to 65%.
So statistically, what's happened when we were a normal, no restrictions, the percentage of irrigation was higher. In the restrictions we have now on the stage 2, people are using less, so the percentage, but it's still half the water.
Exactly, half the water.
And we were 140,000 acre feet of annual consumption prior to this imposition. Right?
Exactly.
What are we right now?
So we were at 140 at the end of 2013, 128 at the end of 2014, and this year we're targeting that we're probably going to be around 115,000 acre feet.
So it's conceivable if this continues, we probably could even get below 100,000 acre feet. I mean, which for a city, that's a huge
It's
reduction.
huge. Yeah.
And then long-term planning, again, with the reclamation, it's conceivable if we got up to 50,000 acre feet at some time in the future, you could almost cover half your water just through reclamation as far as irrigation.
So we could take that 46%, move it down to 23 because we'd put the 23% on the recycled water system.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Okay. Well, thanks, Tommy. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Councilmember Brandow.
Tommy, a couple questions, and actually, you might have answered them already. I zoned out for a few minutes, so I'm going to be up front with you. All right, on the rebate ability so people can apply for rebates for their landscape. Right?
Turf replacement.
Turf replacement. 50 cents per square foot, City of Fresno, $2 per square foot, State of California. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, my first question is, did Councilman Brand apply for that?
I don't think he's applied for that yet, yeah. He said he's debating.
Okay, but about those applications for that process, and he's going through it, so that's why I asked. But how many people have taken advantage of that? I think you said 34?
About $34,000 worth, and half of that has been turf replacement programs.
And, okay, half is turf replacement, and we have $250,000. Was that a one-time deal, or?
So it's been about $200,000, and then with the Water Conservation Act and then the budget appropriation last year that the council wanted to do, we bumped up to $250,000 this year, and it'll be $250,000 next year.
Okay, so how, in your opinion, how could we get more Fresno citizens to maximize that opportunity?
And I think Mr. Brandow identified it correctly. We just got to market it heavier, get it more promoted, get those messages out there that it's available. And we're trying the utility zone. We have the website. One of the things that we also believe it's down, and again, this was a decision we made, was we wanted to engage people at their properties, and so we've been very active 3 weeks out. Landscape consultations. So in order to do that, though, we wound up cutting back our participation in the home shows, the garden shows, all of those places where we could meet people and they'd see us and we'd say, "Here's an application, fill it out." So we did reduce our access to some folks in exchange for getting on their property.
Makes sense. Do you have a map of the residents in the city of Fresno that have taken advantage of that?
Yes, we have by address. We have the address of who's taken advantage. We have by district, zip code. We have it.
And could we easily put that on a map?
Yes, we could put that on a map.
Yeah, you're shaking your head. Yes.
Get that distributed to that distributed.
She likes the map idea. I'll tell you why. One of the thoughts is, so who takes advantage of the program? And then that would tell you, that could also lead you where your marketing should be. Now, in the city of Fresno, we need to be fair and equal and market to everybody, but that map might tell us where the people are truly desiring this kind of help and might really help us stimulate.
That's correct. And the other thing we did this year, again, the administration recommended, was even for if you qualified for our the new water affordability credit program, you got an extra 25% enhanced rebate, so that we were making more money available to individuals that qualified for the water affordability credit.
Right on.
They got a higher level of rebate for the program, so we wanted to use that as part of our marketing strategy as well.
Okay. And then my next question is really a question that I got on the radio about 2 weeks ago. I was talking about the city of Clovis, but a lot of people called in and they want to know, where do the penalties, the fines go to? And so could you really clarify that? Where do the fines go to when people get fined for using too much water?
Right. So for within the city of Fresno, we use that. It's not general ratepayer money. We take those revenues, and it hasn't been a significant source of money any year before. So it wasn't something we kind of relied on. It goes to support the water conservation program.
Okay.
So that $200,000 is a part of that money is from revenues we receive from rentals we give to certain people for use of our property, and the water conservation money. And the water conservation, the water violation fines. Those kind of pool together to fund our water conservation program.
So these exact programs, that 200,000 plus that we just talked about, those same programs are what are funded by these fines. So when somebody's getting penalized, fined, we're not taking that money and using it for some other area of the city of Fresno. It's going directly over to helping reduce water usage, right?
Perfect. Okay. We take somebody who didn't use the water maybe as efficient as possible, and we make it available to people to use water efficiently.
Okay. I really just wanted you to clarify that for the record. I appreciate that. I'm good with my questions. Thanks, Council President.
Remind me, Councilmember Brand, did you make a motion? Well, you don't have to. I just was asking. I couldn't remember if we had a motion or not already. But if you want to, that's fine. And do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Councilmember Capriolio.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
Tommy, congratulations to you and your team, and I guess congratulations to the entire city of Fresno.
Exactly.
Quoting you, our community is crazy good.
Crazy good.
That's great news for us up here, because we made some very, very difficult decisions over the past year and a half, and seeing things come to pass as we had hoped is very inspiring and encouraging. However, my September water bill, the stage 3 scares me, and here's why. My water bill says the average use per family in Fresno is 18,637 gallons. 18,637 gallons. My family, with 2 college students and an athlete that showers 3 times a day, it seems, our usage was 14,339 gallons, so we were 4,298 gallons below the average household. So I felt pretty proud, and my shoulders were going back, and I looked at my family and saying, all those buckets that I've got you guys involved with, it's working. And then I read a little farther, and then it says, if requested by drought conditions, your stage 3 water allocation will be 9,195 gallons. Oh my gosh.
Ouch.
Really? So my lawn's dead, my shrubs are dead. I'm trying to save my 43-year-old trees. And if I cut back another 5,144 gallons, I don't know where I'm going to get that. So we may have to shower with potable water from the purple pipes. I don't know. So I'm a little fearful of stage 3. We seem to be so diligent, and then you read in the paper about Beverly Hills in Southern California, who in my view, are stealing our water for whatever purposes. Apparently, 1 million gallons a week is not uncommon for Beverly Hills, Bel Air, and other areas. And so here we are struggling with buckets and recycling and doing a really good job thanks to your leadership. But there doesn't seem to be a statewide feeling of urgency or let alone compliance that we've been able to achieve. Do you have any thoughts on that? Or
Yeah, so we are, while on the record, I have to tell you, we have to comply with the governor's order. We have to do that. The flip side is, though, that it'll be part of the next agenda item. We have a very unique water supply system that is just ours. The gallons we need to save now are those gallons that we can go back and get. Those are our gallons. So the fact that, as I showed you, that we've lost 4 feet 2 years ago, maybe about 2 feet, our groundwater system is pretty resilient. Part of that resiliency is based on we have continuously dropped the amount of groundwater we have pumped every year for several years in a row. And if the drought continues, that's the water we save to get you down to 9,000 and everybody down to 9,000 is water we'll have available to us, regardless of what the governor says. The only water we got is that water that's underneath us and whatever we can get out of the two reservoirs. So I do have sympathy for those utility directors that have people that just don't have a crazy good population base like we do, and are having to deal with that. We've done well here, but we've got to be cognizant that it might not rain, and if it doesn't rain, it's going to be severe water use restrictions. So we're trying to get the message out that worst case it could get to this. Let's pray for rain. Continue to conserve. If we see those groundwater levels continue to not fall as fast, get a little bit of rain in the water, we can stave that off. But I think it's important for us to make sure we communicate to the community that this is the possibility. Let's stay diligent. Let's not relax. Let's keep at it.
Well, I'm going to try to get some more buckets from Home Depot and continue the diligence. But I'm really glad that we included that in the bill, because HCFs, as we talked about approximately a year ago, didn't mean a lot to many people. But when you break it down to gallons and you actually see it in your bill, it has a much better impact. And as a result of that and the other things that we have approved as a body up here as policymakers has come to pass. I really want to thank you for your leadership and continued updating. This is a moving, it's got wheels and legs and all that, so we have to stay on top of it. And you guys are doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to thank my council colleagues for raising many of the questions actually that I just had. So just to clarify on the rebate program, how do we advertise that for like the folks that you said that may have a lower income or that qualify for the what is it, the
water affordability credit?
Water affordability program, that they know that they will receive 25% more? And what does that mean in terms of the
so like if a toilet rebate is $50, they'll get 25% above that, so they'll get another $12.50 on top. So they get a $62 rebate on that toilet. So they get 50% more than what's published on our list. They'll get an additional enhancement of rebate.
What about for the replacement of turf?
Placement of turf would be the same thing. They would
what
get
would
it.
Be the?
So it'd be 50 cents per square foot. So it'd be 62.5 cents per square foot, up to the 500 square feet.
Okay.
We'd still have the 500 square feet cap.
Cap. Okay.
But the unit rate would go up.
Okay. And do we know? Do we have a number of maybe how many of those individuals actually have benefited from this rebate? Could we?
People in the Water Affordability Credit Program?
Yeah.
Yes, we can find that out. I can get that data for you.
And
I have just the total dollars right now, so I can get how many of those dollars were part of the Water Affordability Credit candidates.
Okay. Do we have a number of how many individuals have applied or how many families have applied for the affordability?
Yes. The last I saw, it was under 1,000. So we had budgeted it to be 16,000. So I think right now we're under 1,000. So we've been promoting it, getting it out there, and the applications just haven't materialized like we thought. But we believe it's just going to be a process, because our wastewater one's about 6,000, our water one is about 10,000. So, and it took a while for us to get those built up. So this will just be a process we're going to get people up in speed on the program.
And, I want to be able to be helpful on this, because if we're anticipated up to 16,000 accounts to have benefited from this.
That's how we budgeted, correct?
Budgeted. I would like to go to some of our Spanish language media, maybe our Hmong, and maybe we can sit down together to go and promote the program. I really want folks to take advantage of not only the water affordability funds, but also the rebate program, and so that they know that they will actually get an additional amount, because I don't even remember hearing about the 25% more. So I know that there are a number of individuals throughout our community that are low income, that live in a fixed income, that would probably opt not to remove their turf, because it is a lot of money up front. For many,
and then we could help them match
families.
The state program as well, and so together bring both programs together.
And so
for them.
when they apply, do you guys make them aware that they can also apply for the state program?
Correct. That's correct. And unfortunately, you have to do them separate. When the state was in our building, we talked about one application for us, one application through you, and the decision, their process was, we got to do it separate. You do yours and we'll do ours, and they'll have to get two separate checks for the effort.
And if they apply also for the water affordability program, is your department letting them know about the rebate programs for the toilets, for the washers, for so forth?
We should be, so I'm going to confirm that we are. That's a good point.
Just a little bit more, I guess, coordination to attempt to get the word out if people are applying. And like I said, I would be more than happy to work with you and go out and do some advertising, on TV. I know that in the Spanish language we could do some effective outreach, and also maybe in the Hmong TV station.
That'd be perfect. Thank you.
Okay. And the other question, I too, I have some concerns, I guess, in terms of the stage 3. I think that
I worry about that every day.
Very important. And so, do you feel confident that with some of the modifications, so that we don't get to stage 3, they will be enough so that we don't get to stage 3? Are we pretty confident that we can avoid a stage 3?
So right now, what I would suggest is that the way our water shortage response plan is designed, our stage 2 should get us 25% reduction. We're actually getting about 28%. We're going to get better than 25. So our stage 2 is performing better than we thought. And again, I wish I could tell you why, but we've thrown everything at it. The decision on whether or not to go to stage 3 is really going to be a precipitation based. Did it rain? Because we can't continue to go into the beginning of each water year, which is March, with reservoirs with no water and no snowpack, because at some point that catches up with you. So it's going to be a precipitation dependent. Now, if the governor comes out with an order that says, I'm extending the 28% order past February 29th to March, April, May, whatever, we would leave stage 2 in, but we would then start thinking, well, where are we on because we'll get a declaration from the Bureau. They'll tell us, this is how much water is in Millerton for you. We'll get a declaration from FID. Here's how much. So we'd have to put those two things together, plus our groundwater, and we'd have to make a call. If the governor said, go ahead and extend the current past, we would probably follow suit, but we want to just check our water supply sources to make sure that we could weather that extended period without snowpack and rainfall.
And I think just personally, I understand in terms of the conservation efforts that municipalities should be making, and our responsibility to be part of that. I think that as a legislative body and policymakers, we need to monitor carefully and really think about if we want to continue to support, furthering Governor Brown's, because we may not agree with him, because in terms of water users for the entire state, I think residentials is a smaller component, and so penalizing folks for watering their trees or not having the luxury of bathing or putting as many loads as you can. I think that I don't necessarily think that that's completely fair. So I think that we'd really need to think about that if this goes on further, and how we could get him to maybe help some of the cities that have been actually doing a good job in the conservation efforts.
And so that discussion starts Monday, because they've invited utilities to come to the state and say, hey, if it doesn't rain, we have to extend. What ideas do local governments have on things we might consider? So for us, we would throw on the table our recharge program. Not everybody has a recharge program like we've got, so we could throw our recharge program as a mitigating factor to help us get out from under the 28. We would throw our recycle water program, because that'll be up and live next year, about this time next year. So we throw that on the table as a mitigating factor to get us out from extent. So there are things we're starting to put in place in our minds that we would make the argument that, we think we deserve some adjustment. But again, we'd have to compare that with what's the snowpack look like, what's the reservoir level look like, and what does our groundwater level looks like. And we'll bring that package to you as a group and give you some guidance on what we would recommend doing.
Absolutely. And so and I raised that because I believe that it's very important that our community continues to water their trees and some of the landscaping that helps our environment. And that's where we have one of the worst airs in the valley. And so if we begin to lose trees throughout our city, that's going to be very problematic. And so that's where I'm concerned too, in terms of the environment and making sure that we are not losing, the trees that do provide and help our air.
Right. That law of unintended consequences. Hey, we conserved our point we've killed everything and created another problem. I agree 100%.
So I hope that you are able to, when you're part of those conversations, echo some of the concerns that are raised by us and
Absolutely.
And let them know where we're at. Thank you.
Councilmember Quintero.
Tommy, I got a couple questions. And this is more related to, I guess, the city itself. We had a while back, I guess about a month or so ago, there was a television story, a news story regarding the trees on Van Ness dying on the Median Islands. And of course, we've had some similar problems on the park strips on Huntington Boulevard. So you've got all these old trees that are very, very tall, and you've got Roding Park, you've got Woodward Park with some very old trees on there as well. So you look at that, and then even in Southeast Park, we've got olive trees that are over 100 years old on historical register in that Sunnyside area, and including there's even the trees on the entrance to Kearney Boulevard off of Fresno Street. Those are some old trees in there. Are we equipped to keep those watered? I mean, do we have enough water trucks and that type of thing? Aside from the one we're giving George.
Well, whether we would need a whole army of water trucks, because unfortunately there are a number of situations, as you point out, Roding Park, Woodward Park. Some of the species of trees that were planted can survive when you have a normal amount of rainfall. And what we're now seeing is an accumulation of 4 years of drought. And these species cannot go that long without the impacts that we're seeing. There are some places, such as we've been working with Councilmember Soria on the trees on Van Ness. Some of it's drought related. Some of it is related to the irrigation system that was installed years ago, which again was just augmenting the rainfall. It was primarily a turf designed kind of irrigation system. So in the case of Van Ness, we are probably going back and having to pull that irrigation system out or replace that irrigation with a drip irrigation system and making other improvements. Places like Roding and Woodward, again, it was designed primarily for turf, and it just augmented whatever happened during the course of the fall, winter, and spring as far as rainfall. And so, to give you an example, the same species of trees that are on Christmas Tree Lane, there's no irrigation system. There's probably some secondary benefit because they're in front of residents, and those residents are probably augmenting to some extent the watering of those trees. When it comes to Woodward, one of the very first projects that we're looking at under the Purple Pipe program is revamping the irrigation system at Roding Park and eventually out to Woodward Park and other places. In the meantime, we're augmenting where we can with a water truck, but I can tell you it is not the most effective and efficient way of doing things, and we have lost trees at both of our parks as well as other places. And you saw probably, council member, the city of Visalia has declared a state of emergency.
Mooney Grove.
Mooney Grove, because of the oak trees and oak trees are pretty resilient. And when you start losing these trees, and of course we've seen the beetle infestation up in the Sierras and the devastation that's caused. This is, as Tommy indicated, this is the impacts of 4 years of record-breaking drought. The decision as to what stage we go through, 2 or 3, cross your fingers, is going to be predicated on what happens over the next 4 to 5 months. We all like to be able to say, wow, this is a record-breaking year, and we had to deal with some floods, but there's 20 feet of snow up at China Peak, and Councilmember Brand is back out there snowboarding or whatever he does up there. But in the event that it doesn't, there is a very harsh reality that the governor may come in, as they did this year, and said, you are not going to water median islands, period. And some of the challenges that brought to those trees, such as on Van Ness and other locations that are used to having not only rainfall, but additional irrigation augmenting them during the summer. So I can't tell you that we can effectively save every tree that is being challenged right now.
Well, because another thing I think we need to start looking at getting prepared for, and you've probably thought about this one already, is that you're going to have those old trees in those older neighborhoods on the park strips that are not getting watered for the reasons you just indicated, but now it becomes a liability issue because they're old, they're real tall, and if they go down, they're going to hit a house. So there's that liability issues. I know my house was built almost 40 years ago, and I've got some old pine trees in the back that are pretty tall that I've had to cut. I've had to cut about 3 of them. And, that's a balancing act we're going to have to, I guess, figure out or not do anything is what the liability is. Is it going to cost us more to, not water or pay the repair on somebody's property? So,
yeah, council should anticipate that within the next 3 weeks, I will be coming back with something to address or augment some of our tree trimming efforts right now, because Tommy mentioned our Fresco app. Probably the number 1 or number 2 item, I haven't looked at the data lately, is tree trimming. Interestingly enough, illegal dumping, tree trimming, and street lights. So we are going to have to deal with that both from a constituency concern as well as in the event that we have a unique weather event. And council member can tell you were around about 4 years ago when we had a wind event.
Right.
There was no rain associated. It was clear and sunny outside, but we had gusts of close to 50 miles per hour, and we started seeing trees then start coming down in our parks. And if you recall, we had to shut down a number of our parks. We shut down both of our regional parks because out of concerns with the public safety. So I hear you. It is something that we are looking at and anticipate something coming back in the next 3 weeks.
And the other part is, I guess we'll find out in December what kind of stage the state's going to mandate us.
I think they'll probably hold off until they get to that February 29th date. They're going to see December, January, February, typically the heaviest rain and snowfall months. And if we don't get it then that's when they'll start their planning for, extend, enhance, something with the...
So you're saying kind of it's February then?
February, yeah. But as I indicated, a discussion is going to start on Monday. And so what I'm hearing from the council is when I offer up ideas from presidents, we're having problems with our trees. We're going to need some consideration on some of these older, mature trees and opportunities we can to make water exceptions available for that.
There's a lot of cities throughout the state that are older than ours and have older trees as well.
Right.
It's statewide impact. So, okay. Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
All right. Those are all the council members I have up. And I'll just make one brief comment. I think everything that I could have certainly said has been said, but I will echo one comment that I heard from Councilmember Soria, just to register my sentiment as well with having a little heartburn about the urban users being laid pretty heavy on during this drought. So, I think it's difficult for us to ask our residents to, as you say, they're doing crazy good. But we're sitting here talking about we could be suffering more. So, and I just like to register that as well. I'm having the beginnings of some heartburn about that. So, anyhow, we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor? All opposed? Item passes 7-0. Thanks, Tommy. Next up, we have item 2C, which is to approve the memorandum of understanding for for planning and coordination related to the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act.
Thank you, Council President, City Council. On this agenda item, what we're requesting is an opportunity to enter into an MOU with representatives from I'll show you a map in a second with this area. These are the maps that were included in your agenda packet. Enter into a memorandum of agreement with representatives from what's being designated the North Kings Subbasin to work together on preparing or looking at evaluating the opportunities to create a groundwater sustainability agency. So this item is related to the governor's, not the governor's, the legislature and the governor signed into law in September, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. Two big things have to happen with that act. First thing that has to happen is a groundwater sustainability agency has to be established governing groundwater management in designated areas. And for the city of Fresno, our designated area is 5-22.08. Everybody's got a zip code, tax ID number, license plate number. Everybody's got a number. City of Fresno has a number. Our number is 5-2208. That is the designated groundwater basin that we reside in, and we don't live there alone. We live there with several other local governments, Clovis, Kerman, Biola's in there, Malaga, Pinedale County, and they are all also in 5-2208. And the way that law is written is that all of the entities within 5-2208 have to come together and prepare a groundwater sustainability plan. So the first thing you create is a groundwater sustainability agency, a new government agency, sits on top of this body, Clovis's body, FID's body, a new government agency and will manage the groundwater in the area. And once they do that, then that agency will dictate rules and regulations, fees and charges on enforcement on how groundwater will be regulated. And the state says the groups in that area have to come up with a plan. And again, we have to come up with a plan for 5-2208. The way 5-2208 has been segregated, previously, I believe it was in March or April, you guys, the council approved authorization for the city to participate in another MOU with the Kings River Conservation District. Same general purpose. Hey, let's get together and discuss how we might organize, get together to do a GSA and a GSP. And from that discussion, being part of that group, I'm a little colorblind, but this is the area. 5-2208 has been generally segregated into these 4 areas. So on the east side, you have the Kings River East GSA group. That's kind of like Alta Irrigation. You can see Reedley's in there, Dinuba's in there, and they're kind of agreeing that they want to kind of talk about being a GSA, that they would create a groundwater sustainability agency that will come up with a groundwater sustainability plan for that area. The Consolidated Irrigation District has identified the local governments in their area to become a GSA, and so they'll manage their groundwater in that area. Fresno Irrigation District has come together and brought all of our towns, all of our jurisdictions together, and will create a GSA for our boundary. And then there's the West Kings GSA group, and that's all those individuals in that color on the west side of the valley. That was kind of the result of our MOU with the Kings River Conservation District, was to create the idea that the best way to do this might be these 4 different entities. And so the MOU before you today is a request for us to now work with the North Kings jurisdictions to start thinking about how our GSA would actually form, function, who would be a member, what do you pay. We don't, in joining this, you're not committing to any money, any resources. It's just a conversation that we're all agreeing to get engaged in. One of the reasons this is built around the irrigation district boundaries is because the way the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act law is written is that they really are promoting the idea of conjunctive use, that you would use a combination of your surface water and groundwater to balance the groundwater conditions in the area. And so the irrigation districts are the ones that have the entitlements to water behind the dams. Fresno's a little unique because we have entitlements of our own behind Millerton Lake, but we would rely on Fresno Irrigation surface water entitlements that they have behind behind Pine Flat to balance our groundwater system. Now, the complicating factor with this current map as it exists is that the state will not accept 4 different groundwater sustainability plans. The state's going to want to have a coordinating agreement with all 4 of these agencies saying, you're all still responsible for the groundwater conditions in 5-2208. You guys have agreed to go ahead and separate 5-2208 into these 4 basins, but that does not relieve you, any of you, of the responsibility to balance this whole aquifer. So there'll be another agreement that'll sit on top of this one. That'll be all 4 of these agencies saying, we agree, we're going to work together to balance the aquifer in 5-2208. So with the request we have in front of council today is for us to enter into discussions with the North Kings group so that we can start that process and understand exactly how we will work together to organize, fund, pay, enforce, administer groundwater rules and groundwater management in our area, and we will come back to you. There'll be a period of time when we get into this where we're going to come back to you probably each month with some request related to the GSA and its formation and how we will get that thing structured and payments, rules, ordinances, administration, and the like. But right now all we want to do is work together to get around the table and have a discussion on how do we coordinate? How might this work for each of us individually? What we bring to the table, just as the city of Fresno, is our Recharge Fresno program and our recycled water program. If those move forward, as those move forward and we get to the point where we're up and running with those programs, we anticipate being at about a plus 20,000 acre feet per year condition on groundwater, meaning that the amount of water we extract from the ground less the amount of water that we put into the ground will be at plus 20,000 acre feet to the good on the groundwater conditions. And so that's kind of what we're offering up to the group, and then we'll have to organize around that. So with that, I'll prepare to take any questions.
All right, Tommy, thank you. We'll now take the item out to the public. Do we have any members of the public wishing to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. What is the pleasure of the council? I'll make a motion to approve. All right, we have a second. All those in favor? All opposed? Item passes 7-0. Wow, Tommy, you did great. All right.
Thank you.
We'll move to item 2D, actions pertaining to the Memorandum of Understanding between the City of Fresno and Operating Engineers Local 3 for Unit 11.
Thank you. I'm TJ Miller, Assistant Director for Personnel Services Department, and as summarized in the staff report, we're asking for your approval of the new Memorandum of Understanding for the airport's public safety public safety officers who are represented by Operating Engineer Local 3. Additionally, we're requesting your approval of the salary resolution amendment to remove the classification from the temporary Unit 8 and place it in Unit 11. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'm available.
All right, we'll now take the item out to the public. Do we have any members of the public wishing to comment on this item? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. Councilmember Capriolio.
Make a motion to approve as requested.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor? I'm sorry, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? All opposed? Item passes 7-0. Thank you. We'll now take our move into unscheduled communication. Do I have Gary Dosekel? If I said that right, I'm sorry. Or if I said that wrong, I'm sorry. You have 3 minutes, Gary.
Yeah, my name is Gary Dosco. I got a problem in the Manchester Mall. I got a bike got stolen to the mall. Now, I talked to the Manchester Mall, the supervisor, and then I called the cops. And, don't get mad at me, nothing. That letter, the one my mom wrote last night, about 20 minutes ago, the bike rack and the entrance is no cameras. They got 2 security, no troll in the parking lot, and nothing. The police officer called me at 4 o'clock Wednesday, last week, and he's got mad, not you guys, he's mad at the Manchester Mall, and he's checking the bike rack, and they cut it off of my chain. And I did talk to the supervisor, both of them, and they said can't tell you because it's confidential, the cameras. It's not confidential because, you know what, it's not right. Because then he do something to the security. And I got this right here, so I think you got a copy. So, don't get mad at me this morning because, this boy lost his bike last week.
Thank you, Gary.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right. Is my mic on?
Don't go away. Just have a seat. I'll be right there to help you.
Thanks. Okay. Councilmember Olivier, we'll see you shortly. We next have a Doug Rickard. You could state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Doug Rickard. Props to the president for pronouncing it correctly. Usually it doesn't. 1458 West Chenault Road. What tie should I wear today? Do I have time for breakfast? Do I have the willpower not to have a Judy's soft, fluffy, hot donut? Is it too soon to send flowers to her? These are some questions I have to answer myself. In light of the Fulton Mall project bids being over by several $1 million, you all have some questions you must answer now, too. Why was the bid initially estimated at 16.1, then it went to 17.4, when the mayor said all along it was going to be 20 million? Do we have the 20 million? Do we have the state $2 million? Why did the mayor tell us that we had $2 million from the state, yet legally swore to the Department of Transportation that the $2 million was going to come from local money? Why? Where are the list of alternatives demanded by the Brand Amendment to help reduce the cost? With the Brand Amendment in place, how do we proceed with the project when there still are 2 lawsuits active? Could the feds ask for their money back, like the Gap deal, if we proceed with legal action still underway? Can we really do this project with no city money? Even those of you who support the road and support the project must answer these questions with your fiscal responsibility. These questions must be asked and answered sooner rather than later. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other members of the public that would like to speak during unscheduled communication? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. Council, what we're going to do now, we're going to adjourn to closed session. We have a few items, I know, but I think that instead of taking our noon break, if we just go through closed session, you can have a longer break. So unless there's some objection, we'll adjourn to closed session. And City Attorney, do we have any announcements?
Yes. In litigation, we have Torres versus the city, another Torres versus the city, Motley versus Fresno Police Officer Smith, Toscano versus Fresno, and Reyes versus the city of Fresno, and Knox versus the city of Fresno. And I would not expect any announcements after the closed session.